Chapter 1038. Did you do as I told you? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang asked. Yes, but I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Aren't you afraid that they will really find trouble with you? Viper looked confused. That's exactly what I want. Because this way, I can defeat them one by one. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang smiled ferociously. Viper suddenly understood. It turned out that his master had not given up on the idea of capturing others. Come with me to the castle. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, waved his hand and led Viper and the other two to the castle. The gorgeous woman looked around in surprise. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, was already used to this, because anyone who entered the castle for the first time would have such a reaction. The Black Monkey and Dan Wangkai were still repairing their sea of qi. Lu Hong, Wolf King, and the other beasts all stared at the inner demons Qin Feiyang with grief and indignation. The inner demons Qin Feiyang stepped forward and landed in front of Lu Hong. He lifted Lu Hong's chin and smiled. Little beauty, are you a little impatient to be my woman? Bastard. Lu Hong spat, her eyes full of disgust. At the same time, in the inner world, Qin Feiyang's face also darkened and blue veins popped out. This bastard was obviously doing this on purpose. You have personality. I like it. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang smiled, got up and walked to the front of the altar. He opened the iron box of the 6-word formula. In addition to the iron book, there was also a Qiankuan bag. And this Qiankuan bag was full of potential pills, red fireglass pills, and Juka yellow dragon pills. Back then, when Lu Xingqian and Mu Qing entered the castle, Qin Feiyang was afraid that they would mess around, so he put all these pills in the iron box. Because the iron box could only be opened with his blood, there was nowhere safer than here. The inner demons Qin Feiyang grabbed the Qiankuan pouch and turned to look at Venom Snake, saying, Now, I will bestow upon you a great fortune. Viper looked at the Qiankuan pouch in bewilderment. However, he raised his eyebrows in disapproval. There might really be some treasure in this Cosmo sack, but he still didn't believe that it was some great fortune. Haha, everything here is ours. Die. However, at this moment, the Black Monkey and Dan Wangkai leaped up at the same time, attacking the inner demons Qin Feiyang from both sides. The gorgeous woman was startled and was about to attack. However, Viper gave her a look, and the gorgeous woman understood. She did not make another move, but stood aside and watched coldly. Lu Hong, Wolf King, and the other beasts looked at each other and did not interfere. The inner demons Qin Feiyang saw all of this, but he was not angry. He looked at Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing with a playful smile. Both of them were 9-star battle saints. They were extremely fast and landed in front of the inner demons Qin Feiyang in the blink of an eye. Without saying anything, they clenched their fists and attacked Qin Feiyang's head and heart. They were afraid that a long delay would cause trouble, so they wanted to kill Qin Feiyang in one blow. Your courage is commendable, but your methods are still lacking. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, smiled hideously and activated the seal of slavery. Ah! Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing fell to the ground. Their noses were bruised and their eyes were swollen. They held their heads and held in pain. What a pair of useless trash! Viper cursed silently. He wanted to use Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing to get rid of Qin Feiyang so that he could regain his freedom. However, he did not expect the two of them to be so useless. They did not even move a finger and were already lying on the ground, crying and howling. He knew that he could not remain silent anymore. Otherwise, he would definitely arouse the dissatisfaction of Qin Feiyang. He stepped forward and kicked Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing away. He spat out blood and shouted, How dare you be so rude to Master? You're courting death. Then, he turned to Qin Feiyang and said indignantly, Master, these two are really stubborn. We can't let them live. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble in the future. Then what do you think we should do? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, looked at him mockingly. Viper said, Master, as long as you give the order, I will immediately cut off their heads and make them into stools for you to sit on. Old poison, you spineless coward. You're a disgrace to the 10 heroes of Qinghai. Mu Qing roared as he endured the pain in his head and stared at Viper angrily. Viper said righteously, The 10 heroes of Qinghai are nothing. I only have one wish now, and that is to do my best for Master until my death. Bastard, do you have any backbone? Do you have any dignity as a human being? Mu Qing and Mu Qing were extremely angry. Viper's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He turned to Qin Feiyang and said respectfully, Master, please deal with them. Okay, help me chop off their heads. While you're at it, help me turn their heads into wine cups. It must be delicious to drink wine in wine glasses made from their heads. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang licked his lips. His eyes were filled with a strong, bloodthirsty light. He was like a demon, chilling people. Hee. Viper sneered and walked toward Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing. Looking at Qin Feiyang's blood-red eyes and Viper's ferocious expression, Dan Wangkai and Black Monkey felt a deep fear from the bottom of their hearts. Master, please spare our lives. We don't want to die. Please give us a way out. We swear that we'll serve you wholeheartedly in the future. If we have second thoughts, may the heavens and earth destroy us. At the moment of death, the two abandoned their dignity without hesitation and chose to live. After all, no one wanted to die. It's too late. Viper sneered. He had wanted to kill the rest of the 10 heroes of Qinghai for a long time, but he hadn't found the opportunity. Now that he had such a good opportunity, how could he let it go? Whoosh! Before Qin Feiyang changed his mind, he landed in front of the two like lightning. He stretched out his hands like an eagle's claws and grabbed Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing's heads. His murderous intent was bone-piercing. No, the two screamed in desperation. It's useless. You're going to die today. Viper sneered. Stop. But before he could finish his words, Qin Feiyang's voice rang out. The smile on Viper's face froze, but he gritted his teeth and continued to attack Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He didn't want to give it up. You're courting death. Qin Feiyang, the inner demon's eyes turned cold. With a thought, Viper held his head and screamed. He quickly knelt on the ground and begged, Master, please spare my life. I know I was wrong. Please don't kill me. I beg you. Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, said, Even if you're a dragon, you'd better coil up in front of me. Yes. I won't do it again, Viper nodded repeatedly. He was terrified to the extreme. Don't do it again. Otherwise, even if you're useful to me, I won't be merciful. Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, snorted coldly. He stopped using the seal of slavery. Only then did the pain in Viper's head disappear. I understand. Viper nodded and wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He then got up and retreated to the side. He was terrified. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, looked at Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing and said, Are you sincerely submitting to me? Sincerely. After witnessing Qin Feiyang's methods, the two of them didn't dare to have any other thoughts. They obeyed. Very good. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, glanced at Dan Wangkai and Mu Qing and Viper and said, From now on, the three of you will be my left and right arms. As long as you're loyal, I won't mistreat you. Yes, Master. The three of them knelt on one knee and were extremely respectful. Get up. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, waved his hand and said, Yes. The three of them got up and looked at each other. There was a hint of sadness in their eyes. The 10 heroes of Qinghai had dominated this sea area and made countless people tremble in fear. They didn't expect that one day they would become someone's slaves. Don't look unwilling. Following me won't bury your talents. Instead, it will make you more dazzling. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said. The three of them smiled apologetically, but they didn't think so in their hearts. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, smiled coldly and took out a potential pill from his Qinkuan bag. He placed it in his palm and said, "Do you know what this is?" The three of them looked at the potential pill. I've refined countless pills, but I've never seen this pill before. Dan Wangkai moved closer, his eyes full of surprise. What? Even you haven't seen it before? Hearing this, the venomous snake, the black monkey, and the glamorous woman were astounded. Do you know about the Gate of Potential? Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, asked. Gate of Potential? Viper and the other two were stunned. Then, a trace of arrogance appeared on their faces. Dan Wangkai said proudly, "We, the 10 heroes of Qinghai, have all opened the Gate of Potential." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, was shocked and asked, "Which level?" Viper said, "We've all opened the first level. Wang Zicheng is more powerful than us. He has already opened the second level. No wonder he could forcefully break through the holy aura of a 1-star combat emperor." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, muttered. He then took off his clothes and sneered. "Then look, how many levels have I opened?" This, Viper and the other two were stunned when they saw the potential mark on his chest. That mark was dark gold in color. They had never heard of a dark gold potential mark. How could they know which level it was? The 6th level. Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, said. Boom! It was as if a bolt of lightning had exploded in their heads. Their bodies and minds were trembling. It was the 6th level of the Gate of Potential. Oh my God, how did he do it? The beautiful woman also had a look of disbelief. Could it be related to the elixir in his hands? The 4 of them looked at the potential elixir again. The shock in their eyes was even stronger. You're right. I can open the Gate of Potential because of this potential elixir. And these few, such as Wolf Cub and Lu Hong, have all opened the 5th and 6th level. One of my subordinates has even opened the 7th level. Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, said. The subordinate he was referring to was Yanwei. The 7th level. Isn't that the ultimate combat saint realm? It can even break through the ultimate combat saint realm. This elixir is amazing. The few of them were so shocked that they couldn't even close their mouths. So this is the great fortune. Viper's eyes trembled. He suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, Master, please give this subordinate the potential elixir. Master, please give us the potential elixir too. Chapter 1039. So realistic. Isn't that right? Previously, he looked like he would rather die than submit. Now that he heard about the potential pill, he immediately bowed and fawned like a mangy dog. So the Qinghai 10 heroes are just SSO. Wolf King and the other beasts couldn't help but mock Viper and the other 2 who were kneeling on the ground without any regard for their dignity. Viper and the other 2 were quite embarrassed when they heard that. But when they thought of the benefits brought by the potential pill, they immediately made up their minds. They must get the potential pill. As for their dignity, they could slowly get back when they became stronger. And in the cruel world of cultivation, this was a very realistic problem. Without powerful strength, the so-called dignity would only be ruthlessly trampled on by others. Looking at the three's performance, the inner demon's Qin Feiyang's face was full of ridicule. He said, Now you want it, but who is the one who questioned my ability again and again? Viper was ashamed. Enough. I'll stop teasing you. Now I'll give each of you one. As for the future, it will depend on your performance. Whoever performs well, I'll help you unlock the next few levels of the potential door. After the inner demons, Qin Feiyang finished speaking. He took out 2 more potential pills and threw them to Viper and the other 2. Thank you, Master. We'll definitely perform well in the future and won't let you down. The 3 grabbed the potential pills as if they had received a treasure. They were grateful. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't mention her at all, the gorgeous woman on the side couldn't help but feel anxious. She also wanted such a powerful potential pill. She quickly went up to Qin Feiyang and said in a coquettish voice, "Master, what about me?" "You?" The inner demons, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The gorgeous woman said, "Yes, I also contributed to capturing Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey. Besides, I'm more valuable than them." "Red Snake, what are you doing?" Viper shouted coldly. Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey were also dissatisfied. This woman clearly wanted to compete with them for favor. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, glanced at the three of them and said, "Let her speak." "Yes." The three of them replied respectfully and fell silent. "Master, look, although I don't have any forbidden techniques, my cultivation is stronger than theirs. More importantly, I am a woman. If Master needs me, I can serve you at any time." The beautiful woman chuckled. She didn't hide the unvarnished intention in her words. "Really?" Qin Feiyang showed a very interested look. "Yes. As long as Master doesn't mind, I'll be yours from now on." The more the gorgeous woman spoke, the more intimate she became. She even leaned her whole body on Qin Feiyang. Dan Wangkai said angrily, "Viper, why did you take her in as your subordinate? Aren't you just looking for trouble?" "Are you blaming me?" Viper glared at him. Who would have thought that this day would come? "Who should I blame if not you?" Dan Wangkai was furious. Viper said angrily, "I'm curious. Is this your first day knowing Red Snake? She has always been like this." "That's enough. Stop arguing. Red Snake is a slut. She's good at dealing with men. Master is obviously a little chick. He might not be able to control himself." Black Monkey said, "Yeah, Master is young and vigorous. How can he be indifferent to being seduced by a woman? It seems that our position in Master's heart can't be compared to this woman." Dan Wangkai sighed. Snake Viper was also feeling bitter. If it was in the past, he would still dare to order Red Snake. But now he had become someone else's slave. How could he control Red Snake? "Filthy woman, stay away from him." But suddenly, an angry shout sounded. Everyone looked at Lu Hong. They saw Lu Hong's face was cold and her eyes were about to spit fire. The gorgeous woman's eyes flashed coldly. She turned to Lu Hong and said, "Who are you calling dirty?" "You." Lu Hong ran up angrily and violently pushed the gorgeous woman away from Qin Feiyang. Interesting. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He stepped forward and hugged the gorgeous woman. He stared at Lu Hong and said, "I can be with whoever I want. Why do you care? Who do you think you are?" The gorgeous woman's face suddenly showed a trace of pride. She snuggled in Qin Feiyang's arms like a little bird. Lu Hong became angrier and angrier. She said angrily, "I can't care about your business, but your body now belongs to Qin Feiyang. I won't allow you to use his body to touch this kind of woman." "What kind of woman am I? Tell me clearly." The gorgeous woman's eyes became colder and colder. Lu Hong snorted and said, "Humph! I'm already being merciful by saying that you're fickle and shameless." Yes, I'm fickle and shameless. But so what? As long as I can please a man, I'll be considered capable. And you look very pure. But to put it bluntly, you're just a vase. You look good, but you're useless." The gorgeous woman retorted sarcastically. Lu Hong was about to explode with anger. Suddenly, she took out a dagger and stared at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, and said, "You won't stop, right? Well, today, even if I have to risk my life, I'll die with you." After that, Lu Hong grabbed the dagger and rushed toward the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. "How dare you!" The gorgeous woman's killing intent rose as she stepped in front of Qin Feiyang. The emperor's might roared out and Lu Hong was sent flying on the spot, crashing into the wall behind her. Her face instantly paled and blood gushed out of her mouth. Inner demons, don't go too far! Wolf King and the other beasts quickly surrounded Lu Hong and glared at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. What does it have to do with me? I didn't do anything. The inner demons shrugged. It's over, it's completely over. Looks like we'll have to call her madam from now on. Old Poison, express your current thoughts. After all, the red snake used to be your subordinate. Dan Wangkai and the black monkey secretly mocked. Are you guys done? Viper's face was ashen. Dan Wangkai laughed. Look at your face. It's as if your ancestors' grave has been dug up. Scram! Viper secretly shouted, about to go crazy. Get out of my way. Suddenly, a sharp and ear-piercing voice rang out. Viper and the other two looked over and saw the gorgeous woman arrogantly walking towards Wolf King and the other beasts. What do you want to do? Wolf King stood in front of Lu Hong and said gloomily, That woman's mouth is dirty. Of course I have to slap her. Seeing that the inner demons, Qin Feiyang did not ask, the gorgeous woman thought that he had acquiesced and became even more arrogant. How dare you? The dual-winged snow eagle also stood in front of Lu Hong, its eyes flashing with shocking killing intent. A group of battle saints dares to be so arrogant in front of me, a battle emperor. You really don't know what's good for you. The gorgeous woman sneered. The terrifying emperor's might turned into a torrent and directly sent Wolf King and the dual-winged snow eagle flying. If you want to touch her, you'll have to step over our dead bodies first. The pangolin beast, black dragon snake, and ghost snake emperor stood in front of Lu Hong. The gorgeous woman raised her eyebrows and glanced at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Seeing that the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, had no intention of stopping her, she sneered. All right, I'll fulfill your wish. She took a step forward and landed in front of the three beasts. She raised her arm and slapped towards the pangolin beast and the others. Obviously, she really had the intention to kill. Who gave you the guts to hurt them? But at this moment, an explosive shout exploded, bringing with it a bone-chilling coldness. Everyone couldn't help but tremble and quickly turn their heads to look. The gorgeous woman also retracted her arm and looked back at Qin Feiyang in confusion, because the person who shouted was Qin Feiyang. But at this moment his hands were clenched tightly and his face was frighteningly gloomy. Moreover, his blood-red hair and eyes were also quickly fading away. That's right, Qin Feiyang's original body was back. He could see everything that was happening outside in his inner world. Seeing that the inner demons were getting more and more out of hand, he couldn't help but take back control of his body. Look, how come his hair and eyes have returned to normal? Could it be that little Qin Zi is not dead? He's back? Seeing Qin Feiyang's hair and eyes quickly turning black, Wolf King and the other beasts' eyes were full of surprise. It does look like the original body is back, but didn't the inner demons say that they have erased the original body's consciousness? Viper whispered, also very surprised and doubtful. Inner demons? Original body? Old Poison, what do you mean? Dan Wangkai and the black monkey looked at Viper suspiciously. This person gave birth to the inner demons. Before, it was the inner demons that were controlling this body, but the original body's consciousness was erased by the inner demons not long ago. Viper thought to himself, how is that possible? The inner demons are ethereal things. How can they really exist? Both of them were dumbfounded. The gorgeous woman looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously for a moment, then walked up to Qin Feiyang with her enchanting body. She hugged Qin Feiyang's arm and said sadly, Master, what's wrong with you? You scared me. However, before she could finish her words, the gorgeous woman's face turned pale, and then she collapsed to the ground and screamed in pain. Everyone hurriedly looked down and suddenly changed color. There was a bloody hole in the gorgeous woman's lower abdomen, and blood was spurting out like an arrow. At the same time, It was unknown when a dagger had appeared in Qin Feiyang's hand, and it was dripping with blood. What's going on? Everyone was confused. It's Chang Shui. Is little Qin Zi really not dead? Wolf King's eyes couldn't help trembling when he saw the dagger in Qin Feiyang's hand. Master, why? The gorgeous woman looked at Qin Feiyang in horror. Qin Feiyang put away Chang Shui and walked straight to Lu Hong. His eyes softened and he said, I'm sorry I came out late and made you suffer. Are you really Qin Feiyang? Lu Hong looked at him in disbelief. It's me. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's really you. You're not dead, Lu Hong couldn't help but burst out. She burrowed into Qin Feiyang's arms and cried bitterly, Bastard, if you're not dead, why didn't you come out earlier? Why did you let the inner demons run amok outside? Look at everyone. What did he do to us? Wolf King and the other beasts were also sad and happy, and tears flowed down their faces. I'm sorry, it's my fault. I shouldn't have been soft-hearted and let him run amok. Qin Feiyang glanced at the other beasts, his eyes full of self-blame. Do you think an apology will solve the problem? Look at Xiaohong. She thought you were dead. Her eyes are swollen from crying. Wolf King said angrily. Qin Feiyang looked down at Lu Hong. Her red eyes, her aggrieved expression, and the bloodstains on her face made his heart ache. I'm sorry. This kind of thing will never happen again. He hugged Lu Hong tightly in his arms and comforted her in a low voice. It's okay, as long as you're okay. Lu Hong shook her head, but the more Lu Hong acted like this, the angrier Qin Feiyang became. His consciousness entered the inner world. The inner demons were standing in the void, not far away. When they saw Qin Feiyang come in, they immediately said angrily, Why are you like this? Didn't you say you would let me stay outside for a day? Qin Feiyang was mad and shouted, You still have the nerve to talk about me? Tell me, what stupid things have you done? TSK, I'm doing this for your own good. The inner demons said. For my own good? Qin Feiyang frowned. Yes, if I didn't force you like this, would you open your heart and accept Lu Hong? The inner demons pursed their lips. You! Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be angry. After all this, the inner demons wanted to set him up with Lu Hong. What about me? Lu Hong has been with you for so many years. Although she didn't make any contributions, she has always supported you and cared about you. Even when you were in danger, she didn't leave you. What else do you want? Kid, don't be greedy. She's such a good woman. If you don't want her, others will fight for her. Also, you're not young anymore. You should face what you need to face. Don't always make me worry. I'm just the inner demons, not your father. The inner demons rolled their eyes at him. Looking at the inner demon's old-fashioned attitude, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel angry. He shook his head and said, Feelings can't be forced. Why are you so stubborn? The inner demon glared at him as if she expected better from him. I'm not stubborn. I'm responsible. Lu Hong is very important to me. If anything happens to her, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to protect her. But I can't talk about feelings with her, because she's my family, not my lover. If I insist on being with her, it's unfair to her. It will only hurt her in the future. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Rotten wood. Forget it. It's up to you. This time, I was meddling in other people's business. When you go out, apologize to them for me. After saying that, the inner demons sat cross-legged in the void, closed their eyes, and ignored Qin Feiyang. How troublesome. Qin Feiyang glared at the inner demons angrily and withdrew his consciousness from the inner world. He was not a fool. He had already seen through Lu Hong's feelings. He just didn't want to break the barrier and complicate their relationship, so he pretended not to know. Chapter 1040. Inside the castle. After some time, Lu Hong, Wolf King, and the other beasts finally calmed down. Qin Feiyang let go of her. Lu Hong blushed. She stood up and looked away, not daring to look at anyone. Wolf King joked, "Did you see that? Someone's embarrassed." Any woman would be embarrassed. What's so strange about that? The two-winged snow eagle also took advantage of the situation to tease. Lu Hong's face turned even redder. "Will you die if you don't talk so much?" Qin Feiyang glared at Wolf King and the other beasts. He then looked at the gorgeous woman and said lightly, "You forget yourself just because I give you some sunshine. People like you can't be left alive." "Master, I know I'm wrong." "Please don't kill me." The gorgeous woman's eyes trembled. She quickly knelt in front of Qin Feiyang and begged. Qin Feiyang said, "I won't kill you, but I won't let you follow me either. Hand over the Qinkuan bag." The gorgeous woman didn't dare to hesitate. She immediately took out the Qinkuan bag and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang looked at Viper and smiled. "Give her the antidote and set her free." The reason why the gorgeous woman was so obedient to Viper was because Viper had used poison to control her. Viper hesitated. "Didn't you hear?" Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Yes. Viper nodded. He took out a bottle of sacred water and threw it to the gorgeous woman. The gorgeous woman was stunned. What was going on? Not only did he not kill her, he even gave her the antidote. Was there something wrong with his head? But no matter what, this was a good thing. She quickly grabbed the jade bottle and drank a drop of the sacred water. The poison that had accumulated in her body for many years disappeared instantly. Good luck. Viper took back the rest of the sacred water and snorted secretly. The gorgeous woman's eyes showed a hint of pride. It seemed that this Qin Feiyang was still interested in her. However, just as her imagination was running wild, Qin Feiyang said, "You can leave now." "Leave?" The gorgeous woman was stunned, and then her face changed. She hurriedly hugged Qin Feiyang's thigh and cried out, "No, master!" If her sea of qi hadn't been destroyed, she would have been happy to hear this, because this meant that she had truly regained her freedom. But now she had lost all of her cultivation, and the inland sea was extremely dangerous, especially in the depths of the inland sea where there were even monarch beasts. If she went out alone, there was no doubt that she would die. This is your only chance. Whether you can survive or not will depend on your luck, Qin Feiyang said expressionlessly. Then he waved his hand and threw the gorgeous woman out of the castle. Viper asked, "Master, what if she's lucky and survives?" "Naive." Wolf King sneered. The castle that was exposed to the outside would automatically sink. So now the castle should be at the bottom of the sea. As everyone knew, not only were there terrifying sea beasts lurking at the bottom of the sea, but there was also terrifying water pressure. The gorgeous woman's cosmos bag was in Qin Feiyang's hands. Without the water-repelling pearl, even if the sea beasts let her go, she would still be crushed alive by the water pressure. In other words, the chances of the gorgeous woman surviving were 0. Qin Feiyang glanced at Viper and the other two and said, "You three should act as usual. Don't let Barbarian Bull and the others notice anything." "Understood." The three of them nodded. Dan Wangkai asked, "Master, how do I use this potential pill?" The process of taking the potential pill is very painful, but as long as you persevere, you will succeed. In addition, when opening the potential door, you need the assistance of coercion. With your cultivation, the lowest requirement is Emperor's coercion. Qin Feiyang said, "What if you can't persevere?" The black monkey asked. "You will explode and die." Qin Feiyang said. The pupils of the three shrank. They didn't expect the consequences to be so serious. Sure enough, it proved the old saying that effort and gain coexist. Qin Feiyang said, "Take out your image crystals and establish a contract bridge. If there is any news in the future, inform me immediately." Yes. The three of them nodded. After establishing the contract bridge, Viper asked, "Master, What about the poison in my body? If the poison in his body is not removed, he will always be threatened by the old man in green. This matter can't be rushed. Bear with it for a while. When I get the cluster of 7th grade pill fire that is about to be born, I will refine a detoxification pill with 7 pill patterns for you to try. If it doesn't work, I will go to Pei Qin to get the antidote. Qin Feiyang said, "Thank you, Master." Viper bowed and thanked him. 7 pill patterns. When Dan Wangkai heard this, a trace of deep disbelief crept up between his brows. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "Don't be surprised, I can still refine a lot of pills that even you have never heard of." Dan Wangcai's eyes suddenly became fiery. If it was in the past, he would definitely not believe it. However, after seeing the potential pill, he firmly believed in Qin Feiyang's words. Qin Feiyang turned to Lu Hong, Wolf King, and the other beasts and said with a smile, "You don't have to worry about anything outside. Just focus on your cultivation." Everyone nodded. After that, Qin Feiyang took out the water avoidance pearl and left the ancient castle with Viper and the other 2. The place they appeared at was indeed the bottom of the sea. Nearby, there were a few sea beasts wandering around, and the gorgeous woman was nowhere to be seen. Viper glanced at the sea beasts and sighed. If I'm not wrong, the red snake has already died under their mouths. You still sympathize with her? Dan Wangkai and the black monkey rolled their eyes. Not sympathy, just sentiment, Viper said. At the same time, their fear of Qin Feiyang deepened. Compared to the inner demons, this person was indeed much gentler. However, once his reverse scale was touched, his means were even more terrifying than the inner demons. In fact, Qin Feiyang did this to make an example out of them. Every single one of the Azure Sea's 10 heroes were arrogant people. If he didn't intimidate them, who knew what kind of trouble they would cause? Roar! Those sea beasts also noticed Qin Feiyang and the other 3. They immediately let out deafening roars and rushed toward the 4 of them. Their ferocious aura also erupted. Oh no, they are all 9-star sacred beasts. Dan Wangcai's expression changed. He swept up Qin Feiyang and the other 2 and rushed toward the sea without looking back. Roar! However, the roars of those sea beasts alarmed all the sea beasts in this area. Splash! Boom! Some were as big as mountains, and some were as small as rocks. They rushed toward the 4 of them in a rush. There were countless of them. This is not good. Viper and the other 2's faces darkened. Although there were no emperor beasts, how could they kill so many sea beasts? The black monkey said, "Master, it seems that we have to enter your ancient castle and hide for a while." Dan Wangkai nodded and said, "Yes, although there are no emperor beasts now, once we fight with them, we might alarm the nearby emperor beasts." "There is no need." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and stopped at the same time. "There is no need? Do you have a way?" The 3 of them were surprised and stopped behind Qin Feiyang. "Grab my shoulders," Qin Feiyang said. The 3 of them suspiciously reached out and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulders. Almost at the next moment, a sea beast passed by not far in front of them, but it left as if it did not see them. What's going on? Is it blind? Viper and the other 2 looked at each other. Qin Feiyang said, "I've activated the invisibility technique. We can see them, but they can't see us." Invisibility technique? Was this what you used to kill the black snake? Viper asked. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's amazing. There is such a battle art in the world. Wait, is this invisibility technique a divine art? The 3 of them were surprised. It doesn't matter if it's a divine art or a battle art, as long as we can avoid their eyes and ears. Now don't move and don't let go. Qin Feiyang said, if they activated the invisibility technique outside, they could move freely without being discovered, but it was different in the sea, because the sea would move. Once they moved, the seawater would also fluctuate. At that time, The sea beasts would be able to follow the fluctuations of the seawater and find their location. The only thing they could do now was to wait for the sea beasts to leave. Dan Wankai looked at it in amazement for a while before turning to look at Qin Feiyang. His face was full of flattery as he transmitted a message. "Master, can you let me take a look at that potential pill formula of yours?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Sure, but it depends on your performance." "Don't worry, I'll do my best." Dan Wankai patted his chest as if he was making a solemn vow. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. With a serious expression, he exhorted, "You are not allowed to mention to anyone that I am Qin Feiyang, including what you saw in the castle." "What's wrong?" The three of them were suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, "If you have the chance, go to the Divine City and ask around a little." "Okay." The three of them nodded. "Then where are you going next?" Dan Wankai asked again. Qin Feiyang said, "To meet up with Wang Zicheng and the others." "Find Wang Zicheng?" The three of them looked at each other and raised their eyebrows without leaving a trace. The black monkey said, "Master, do you have any plans to take Wang Zicheng under your command?" "I do, but he's with young Master Hao, so it's hard to make a move. I'll talk about it when I have the chance. Also, I'm not the inner demons, so don't call me master in the future. It sounds awkward." Qin Feiyang said. Snake said, "Then what should we call you?" Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Just call me by my name." "That's not good, is it? How about we call you Young Master or Young Master?" Dan Wankai said. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and nodded with a smile. "Sure, as long as it's not Master." "Then, Young Master, can you teach your invisibility technique to others?" "It's amazing, I want it to." The black monkey smiled flatteringly. "You're thinking too much." Qin Feiyang's face twitched and he rolled his eyes. Not to mention whether the invisibility technique could be taught to others. The relationship between them was not to the extent of being intimate. The black monkey smiled embarrassedly, knowing that it was a little presumptuous, so it did not continue to pester. A few hundred breaths later, most of the nearby sea beasts had left. The four of them did not delay and quickly left the deep sea. Chapter 1041. After Qin Feiyang left, Dan Wankai retracted his gaze and looked at Viper angrily. "Old Poison, we've been tricked by you this time." The black monkey also stared at Viper with a face full of resentment. "Why didn't you blame me when I asked for the potential pill? Now that you've gotten the potential pill, you're blaming me?" Viper's face was gloomy. When the two of them heard this, they couldn't help but feel ashamed. Viper continued, "Also, after signing the slave seal, young master can peek into our inner thoughts, so you'd better be honest." "What? There's such a thing?" The two of them were shocked. "I'm not joking with you. You'd better take care of yourselves." Viper sneered, turned around, and left alone. Dan Wankai and the black monkey looked at each other, quickly dispelled their evil thoughts, and chased after Viper. And then there was Qin Feiyang. In the dangerous sea area, with countless sea beasts, he had no choice but to activate the kill formula again. But this time, it was the inner demons who controlled the body. As Qin Feiyang expected, the kill formula didn't have any effect on the inner demons. On the contrary, the inner demons seemed to have been injected with stimulants, crazily killing and absorbing blood. Finally, his cultivation actually broke through to the one-star war emperor. Feeling the explosive power, the inner demons became even crazier and more unscrupulous. Along the way, he left behind countless corpses and bones. Moreover, as he absorbed more and more blood, his strength actually continued to increase. He didn't know how much blood he had absorbed, but his cultivation finally surpassed the 2-star war emperor and stopped at the 3-star war emperor. Whether it was the inner demons or Qin Feiyang's original body, they couldn't help but be wild with joy. because from the 3-star war saint to the 3-star war emperor, there was a big realm. In other words, in addition to their battle arts and divine arts, even if it was a 6 or 7-star war emperor, they would still have the power to fight. However, this was not a simple matter because it required a large amount of blood in advance. Right now, I can kill any god or devil that stands in my way. Who dares to fight me? The killing intent of the inner demons soared to the sky. The sea within a radius of several hundred miles trembled under his aura. Right now, he was like a god of death, scaring all the sea beasts away. Even the monarch beasts did not dare to come any closer. Time slowly passed. In the evening, on a certain island in the depths of the inland sea. This island was extremely large, with a diameter of several hundred miles. It was surrounded by mountains and lush greenery. On the peak of a certain mountain, 2 men and a woman were sitting cross-legged together with their eyes closed in meditation. It was Wang Yuer and the other 2. Roar! Suddenly, the roars of beasts could be heard. The 3 opened their eyes at the same time and looked suspiciously at the sea behind them. That is, immediately, their expressions changed. In the sky above the sea, groups of sea beasts were running madly towards the island, creating huge waves. That's a beast tide. Young Master Hao stood up and looked at the group of sea beasts, his face full of shock. What happened? I've been in the inner sea for hundreds of years, but I've never heard of a beast tide appearing anywhere in the inner sea. Wang Zicheng mumbled, his eyes full of bewilderment. The beast tide was getting closer, and the commotion was getting louder and louder. The island under their feet was shaking. Quick, hide! Wang Yuer shouted. The 3 of them quickly jumped down from the peak and hid in a valley below. Roar! Soon, groups of sea beasts came roaring. Some galloped in the void, while others ran wildly on the island, creating a huge commotion. They are all sacred beasts, and most of them are 9-star battle sages. Wang Zicheng and the other 2 hid in the valley, restraining their auras to the extreme. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. No way, there are monarch beasts. Suddenly, Wang Zicheng's gaze was fixed on the void above, his face full of disbelief. It was a Neptune leopard. It was more than 10 meters long and had a ferocious aura. It whizzed past the top of the valley. It's really a beast tide, but what are they chasing? I didn't see anything passing by here before. Also, why are their eyes filled with fear? Wang Zicheng was bewildered. Fear? Wang Yuer and Wang Zicheng were stunned and carefully observed the eyes of those sea beasts. True enough. Every sea beast's eyes were filled with fear. It didn't seem like they were chasing something, but more like they were running for their lives. The devil is here. Run! Some sea beasts roared in horror. Devil! Wang Zicheng and the other 2 could not help but tremble. What kind of devil was so terrifying that even monarch beasts were fleeing? You dregs, let's see where you can escape to. Ha ha! Suddenly there was a maniacal laughter that reverberated through the sky. Whose voice is that? Wang Zicheng and the other 2 were bewildered. Young Master Hao's gaze suddenly trembled slightly, and he said telepathically, No, this voice is somewhat familiar. Familiar? Wang Yuer and Wang Zicheng were stunned and listened carefully. All of a sudden, the 3 of them shouted in unison, It's Ancestor Mu. But how was that possible? They knew Qin Feiyang's strength, and it was impossible for him to do that. However, this voice was indeed Qin Feiyang's, but it was slightly different from before. It was filled with a shocking hostility. Although the 3 of them were very puzzled, they did not dare to go out to investigate, because the sky was full of sea beasts. If they ran out now, they would be trampled to death, even if they were not killed. Now I truly understand how lonely it is to be invincible. I ask, who can grant me death? The voice sounded again with an indescribable sense of loss. Bah, how narcissistic. Wang Yuer's face darkened, and she could not help but curse in a low voice. He is indeed narcissistic. Wang Zicheng nodded. Young Master Hao shook his head and said, No, 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 I know Brother Mu very well. He would not speak in such a tone. The voice is clearly his. Wang Yuer rolled her eyes at him. Young Master Hao said, It could be someone else, but the voice is just like Brother Mu's. Is that so? Wang Yuer and Young Master Hao muttered and looked up at the sky above the valley. Groups of sea beasts ran over from the sky. After a long time, the sea beasts finally disappeared. Immediately after, a blood-red figure appeared in the sky above the valley and entered the sight of the three of them. It was the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. He had blood-red hair and blood-red eyes. His clothes were also dyed red by blood. In his hand was the corpse of a sea beast that was as big as a mountain. Hot blood spurted out like a waterfall. Obviously, this sea beast had not died for long. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, walked in the sky with the sea beast in his hand. He really looked like a devil with a murderous aura that filled the sky. It's really Brother Mu. When he saw the inner demons, Qin Feiyang's face, Young Master Hao was immediately overjoyed and immediately stood up to greet him. Don't make a sound. Wang Zicheng pulled him back. What's wrong? Young Master Hao lowered his head and looked at him suspiciously. Although he looks exactly the same as Ancestor Mu, his temperament is completely different. The most important thing is that his cultivation is much higher than Ancestor Mu's. If I'm not wrong, he should be a 3-star combat emperor. Wang Zicheng transmitted his voice. 3-star combat emperor. Young Master Hao's body trembled. He immediately lay down on the ground and thought, then why does he look so similar to Brother Mu? How long have I known Ancestor Mu? If you don't know, how would I know? Wang Zicheng rolled his eyes at him. Strange, what's going on? Young Master Hao frowned. At this moment, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, suddenly stopped and looked down at the valley. Not good, we've been discovered. Let's go. Wang Yuer's pupils shrank. She quickly pulled Young Master Hao out of the valley and fled in panic. Wang Zicheng was also like a frightened rabbit. He quickly jumped out and chased after Wang Yuer and Young Master Hao. Hey! The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, laughed mockingly. He took a step forward and instantly blocked in front of the three. He said, Where do you think you're going? Who are you? The three of them stopped abruptly and focused their attention on the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Who am I? Are you blind? Can't you see that I'm Ancestor Mu? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, said playfully. You know Ancestor Mu? Then you must know him. What's your relationship with him? Young Master Hao asked. If I say that I'm his biological elder brother from the same mother, would you believe me? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, said with a sinister smile. Biological elder brother? The three of them looked at each other. Why hadn't they heard Ancestor Mu mention that he had such a biological elder brother? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, changed the topic and said, Since you're here, it means that the elixir fire's birthplace should also be here. Tell me where it is. Young Master Hao frowned and turned to Wang Yuer and Wang Zicheng. He said telepathically, You even know that. It shouldn't be fake. The two of them nodded. Wang Zicheng coughed and cupped his hands with a smile. Brother Mu, let me introduce myself. I'm Wang Zicheng, Ancestor Mu's sworn brother. Wait, Brother Wang, did you remember wrongly? When did you and Brother Mu become sworn brothers? Before Wang Zicheng could finish, Young Master Hao interrupted him with a suspicious look. The smile on Wang Zicheng's face froze, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. What's wrong with this bastard's eyesight? Can't he see that I'm trying to make friends with Ancestor Mu's biological elder brother? How dare he ruin my plan in front of me? Is he going too far? Looking at Wang Zicheng's embarrassed face, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, couldn't help but want to laugh. But he held it back and said with a straight face, I've heard about you from my younger brother. You're Wang Zicheng, one of the 10 heroes of Qinghai. Your young master Hao, the son of a big shot. As for you, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, looked at Wang Yuer and said with a smile, if I remember correctly, you seem to be the fiancé that my younger brother picked up. Uft. Young master, Hao and Wang Zicheng burst out laughing. Wang Yuer's face darkened. She gnashed her teeth and glared at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Did I say something wrong? This fiancé of yours was picked up from the streets. Besides, although my younger brother is ugly, he's quite popular with women. The number of women who like him, not to mention how many, can at least line up from the inland sea to the outer sea. So, don't think that you can be arrogant in front of my younger brother just because you're a little beautiful and have a little family background. Our family doesn't welcome arrogant women, so you'd better behave yourself. Otherwise, I'll ask my younger brother to divorce you. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang said coldly. Okay, divorce me. I can't ask for more. You'd better divorce me now. Wang Yuer was mad. As the saying goes, if you're not a family, you won't marry into the same family. Like younger brother, like elder brother. Young master Hao and Wang Zicheng, who were next to them, wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Their faces turned red. Chapter 1042. Little girl, don't be arrogant. Although my Mu family can't be compared to your Wang family, it won't be that easy to enter my Mu family. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang chuckled and ignored Wang Yuer, who was gnashing her teeth. He turned to look at Wang Zicheng and asked, Where is the birthplace of the elixir fire? It's not on this island. Wang Zicheng shook his head. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion, Since it's not on this island, why are you here? It's a long story. Wang Zicheng sighed deeply and said with a smile, Brother Mu, please come with me. He smiled reluctantly. Then he rose into the sky, turned into a stream of light, and flew to the left side of the island. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang frowned and quickly followed. Young master Hao glanced at the two of them, then looked at the indifferent Wang Yuer and asked, Sister, aren't you going? What for? Wang Yuer asked coldly. Young master Hao said, Brother Mu's brother is very strong. Maybe he can defeat them. So what? Wang Yuer snorted. Young master Hao said, In this way we can enter that island and wait for an opportunity to snatch the elixir fire. If you want to go, you go. I won't go. Wang Yuer turned her head and looked away. If she still followed them, wouldn't she be even more a joke? Young master Hao said helplessly, Sister, don't be so stubborn. The task is more important. After that, he forcibly dragged Wang Yuer and chased after the inner demons Qin Feiyang and Wang Zicheng. About half an hour passed. Another island came into the sight of the inner demons Qin Feiyang. The island was not very big, about a dozen miles or so. There was a huge volcano in the center, which was erupting red magma and illuminating half the sky. There were no beasts or plants on the island, only piles of volcanic ash. The sky above the island was also extremely hazy. Wang Zicheng stopped and looked at the island from afar. He said in a deep voice, Big Brother Mu, this is actually the birthplace of the alchemy fire. Then why don't you guys wait here? Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, was suspicious. It's a long story. Back then, after we separated from your younger brother, we came here directly. At the beginning, it was still all right. There were only the three of us. However, more and more people started to arrive. Furthermore, most of them were battle emperors. We have no choice but to hide and wait for an opportunity. But this afternoon, an old man suddenly discovered us and chased us out. Wang Zicheng said helplessly. Upon hearing this, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, scanned the island. His eyes flickered as he asked, How many are there? 10 people. Their cultivation levels are between 4-star and 6-star combat emperors. Wang Zicheng said. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang asked, Do you know who they are? I don't know. Wang Zicheng shook his head. I know. Young master, Hao suddenly said. Who? Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, turned to look at him. Young master, Hao said, the people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion. I was wondering why they didn't kill you. It turns out that they are from these forces. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, suddenly understood. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed by those 10 people. However, regardless of whether it was the people of the 9 super tribes or the trading pavilion, they all knew young master Hao and Wang Yuer. Naturally, they wouldn't dare to act recklessly. At the same time, upon hearing the conversation between Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and young master Hao, the shock in Wang Zicheng's eyes intensified. He looked at young master Hao and Wang Yuer and asked suspiciously, "Who are you two?" He had also thought about this question. Why didn't those 10 people kill them, but only chase them away? At first, he thought that those 10 people might not care about them because they were young and weak. However, he didn't expect that it was because of Wang Yuer and young master Hao. As for the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion, although he had never been to the Divine City, he had more or less heard about them. Even the people from these superpowers didn't dare to touch them. How terrifying were these 2 people's origins? In the past, he also thought about asking about their identities in person, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was too rash to inquire about their background since they had just known each other for a short time. Therefore, he didn't ask them. But now he really couldn't hold it in anymore. And this time, he made up his mind to get an answer. Well, in the face of Wang Zicheng's question, young master Hao looked at Wang Yuer at a loss. Wang Yuer glanced at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and then looked at Wang Zicheng and said, "Our identities are not important. The important thing is, how did the people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion know that the alchemy fire was born here?" "That's right. Who leaked the news?" "Young master." Hao was surprised. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, glanced at the 2 of them, looked up at the island, and sneered. "You 2 are still too naive." "Brother Mu, what do you mean?" Young master Hao was suspicious. Wang Yuer raised her eyebrows in dissatisfaction. "The main tower seems to be calm, but in fact, there are undercurrents surging. I might as well tell you the truth. Whether it is the super tribes or the trading pavilion, they all have spies in the main tower. And these spies have a very high status in the main tower." Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, said. "What? There is such a thing?" The 2 of them were surprised. "Are you surprised? Then, if I tell you that the mysterious Mu family also has spies in the main tower, will you believe it?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, smiled playfully. Well, the 2 of them looked at each other. "Brother Mu, you can't say that. If you say that the super tribes and the trading pavilion have spies in the main tower, I will believe it. But we have always minded our own business. They would never do such a thing." "Young master," Hao said. "Otherwise, why would I say that you are still too naive? Some things are not as simple as you think." Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, sneered. Young master Hao frowned. He felt that what Qin Feiyang, the inner demon, said was too outrageous. But Wang Yuer couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. She was older than young master Hao, and her cultivation was stronger than young master Hao. She had seen more than young master Hao, so her vision of things was also better than young master Hao. And what Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said seemed unintentional, but in fact there was a deep meaning in his words. She couldn't help but begin to doubt. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something. She looked at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and her eyes flickered. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do you think I am very handsome now?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, stroked his chin and laughed. Wang Yuer rolled her eyes and said in a deep voice, "I have always ignored a problem, that is your surname. You 2 brothers are surnamed Mu. Are you from the Mu family?" "Ah." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, was stunned. Young master Hao was also stunned. Looking at Qin Feiyang's reaction, Wang Yuer narrowed her eyes slightly and said, "Is it true that I am right? Hey! Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, grinned, stepped forward, grabbed Wang Yuer's neck, and said coldly, "Since you have been guessed, I have to kill you." Wang Yuer's face turned pale. Young Master Hao also changed his expression and asked in disbelief, "Brother Mu, is that true?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, acted so real that young Master Hao couldn't help but believe it. "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, looked at him coldly. Young Master Hao's heart instantly fell into an ice valley. At the same time, in his heart, a burst of anger burst out. He stared at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and roared, "How dare you use me? The Mu family is too much." "I didn't use you. It was my brother who used you. You're really stupid. You believed him so easily. But then again, we really have to thank you. If it weren't for your help, my useless brother wouldn't have the chance to become your father's disciple." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, joked. "Bastard," young Master Hao roared. "What? Ancestor Mu is young Master Hao's father's disciple? Doesn't that mean that young Master Hao is the Chief Tower Master's son?" Wang Zicheng looked at young Master Hao in surprise. He didn't expect that young Master Hao was the son of the Master of the Forgotten Continent. What about Wang Yuer? Young Master Hao had always called her sister. Was she also the Chief Tower Master's daughter? What are you shouting for? Is it useful to shout now? Wang Yuer shouted at young Master Hao angrily, then looked at Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, and said, "We are really blind. After being with Ancestor Mu for so long, we didn't see through his true colors." "Haha." Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, laughed, then let go of Wang Yuer and flew toward the island without looking back. This, young Master Hao was stunned. Wang Yuer was also stunned. My little brother was right. You two are really naive. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, laughed loudly and quickly entered the island. Naive. Too much, too much. The two immediately gnashed their teeth. After all this time, this person was just teasing them. But the next moment, young Master Hao's expression changed, and he shouted, "Brother Mu, don't go, it's dangerous." "Stop shouting. Since he dares to go, it means that he is confident. Let's just wait for the good show." Wang Zicheng said, but there was a thoughtful look in his eyes. A son of the Chief Tower Master, a daughter of the Chief Tower Master, and a personal disciple of the Chief Tower Master. What was the purpose of these three coming to Qinghai? Suddenly, his eyes trembled slightly. Could it be that they were here for the alchemy fire? "You guys be careful. I have something to deal with," Wang Zicheng hurriedly said, then turned around and used the perfect auxiliary battle technique, disappearing from the sight of young Master Hao and Wang Yuer. What is he going to do? Young Master Hao frowned. Who knows? Wang Yuer pursed her lips. At the same time, on the volcanic island, Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, stood above the island, scanning below. The air here was very dry and hot, and ashes were flying everywhere. Although it was already night, under the illumination of the fire, everything on the island could be clearly seen. There were no living creatures on the island, but around the volcano, there were 10 figures sitting cross-legged. Chapter 1043. Ancestor Mu. At the same time, the 10 people also noticed the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Their eyes were filled with doubt. 3-star combat emperor? How could this be? Wasn't Ancestor Mu a combat saint? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, waved his hand and smiled. "Hi, everyone!" "You are Ancestor Mu?" a middle-aged woman asked. The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, cupped his hands and smiled. "Ancestor Mu is my younger brother. I am called Ancestor Mu. Everyone is my elder. If you don't mind, you can call me Ancestor Mu." Ancestor. The 10 people's faces immediately darkened. Which immoral bastard came up with the names of these 2 brothers? One called Ancestor Mu, and the other called Ancestor Mu. Wasn't this taking advantage of others? The inner demons, Qin Feiyang, chuckled and glanced at them. Suddenly, he locked his gaze on a certain person. His blood-red eyes were filled with coldness. An old man in green stood there. He had white hair and a white beard. His hands were behind his back, and his whole body was emitting a kind of otherworldly aura. That's right. This person was Pei Qin. The inner demons secretly laughed. Didi, I found this old man. How should we deal with him? Do as you see fit. Qin Feiyang's voice sounded in the inner world. It was also filled with a bone-chilling coldness. Understood. The inner demons licked his lips and looked at the old man in green. He smiled and said, Senior, you look familiar. Have I seen you somewhere before? The old man in green was slightly stunned. He chuckled and said, Really? Why don't I remember seeing you before? No. I must have seen you before. The inner demons waved his hand and suddenly revealed a look of realization. Oh, right. One of the Qinghai 10 heroes, Viper! The old man in green was shocked and asked suspiciously, Who is Viper? You don't know? Then why did my brother tell me that someone is instigating Viper to get rid of him? The inner demons joked. The divine python tribe wants to get rid of Ancestor Mu. The other 9 people were bewildered. Hearing this, Pei Qin's expression changed slightly, but he quickly concealed it. He smiled at the inner demons and said, Little friend, I don't understand what you're saying. Even if Viper wants to get rid of your brother, what does that have to do with me? However, his heart was filled with bewilderment. What's with the Viper? Could he have been exposed? Of course it has something to do with you, because you were the one who instigated Viper. I was looking for you too. I didn't expect to meet you so soon. The inner demons sneered. Pei Qin's face sank, and he said angrily, Little friend, you can't speak carelessly like that. Your younger brother is the chief pagoda master's personal disciple. How could I dare to attack him? Haha, old man, stop pretending. Viper told me everything about you. Tell me, how are you going to compensate me? Let me make it clear to you first. My brother's life is very valuable. Don't try to fool me with some useless things. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, said slowly. Everyone was surprised. Did it mean that Ancestor Mu had died in the hands of Viper? Yes, my brother is dead. He died in the hands of Viper. At that time he asked me for help. However, when I rushed to the inner sea, it was already too late. As for my brother's death, I believe that many of you here are very happy. The inner demons said with a sad smile. He's really dead. Everyone looked at each other. Pei Qin asked calmly, What about Viper? The inner demons said with a smile, Would I let the person who killed my brother live? Okay, now there's no proof. Pei Qin was secretly happy. He looked at the inner demons and sighed. Little friend, I don't know what Viper told you, but your brother's death really has nothing to do with me. My condolences. Yes, the divine python tribe has no grudge with Ancestor Mu. How could Pei Qin harm him? A middle-aged man said with a smile. This man was from the Qilin tribe. His name was Wu Kai. Is that so? The inner demons looked at Wu Kai and Pei Qin and seemed to be shaken. Yes, both of them nodded at the same time. Okay, then I'll go and check again. The inner demon frowned and disappeared into the night sky like a flash of lightning. Phew! Pei Qin secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Ancestor Mu is dead? This is not a small matter. Yes, if this news spreads to the Divine City, it will definitely cause an unprecedented storm. The few of them discussed animatedly. Their eyes were full of shock. Pei Qin glanced at the other 9 people and said with a smile, Everyone, I suddenly remembered that I have something to deal with. Excuse me. Then, without waiting for the 9 people to respond, he turned and flew to the other side of the island. Wu Kai of the Qilin tribe looked at Pei Qin's back, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Then he looked at the 8 people and said with a smile, I have something to do too. Excuse me. After that, he also turned and disappeared quickly. Hypocrite! The 8 people sneered. It was obvious that Pei Qin and Wu Kai were going to pass the news back. Then the 8 people went in different directions to pass the news back to their own tribes. At the edge of the southern part of the island, Pei Qin took out the image crystal and his battle chi surged. After a while, the shadow of the leader of the divine python tribe appeared. The leader of the divine python tribe looked at Pei Yi and said with a smile, Elder Qin, you're all smiles. Do you have any good news? Pei Qin nodded and said with a smile, Yes, Ancestor Mu is dead. The leader of the divine python tribe was stunned and asked in surprise, How did he die? I was killed by a man named Viper. Pei Qin immediately told him what had happened in a concise and clear manner. After that, the leader of the divine python tribe was overjoyed. He nodded and said with a smile, Good, good, good. This hidden danger is finally removed. I can rest assured. Now your task is to get the elixir fire back. I'm afraid that's a little difficult because the other 8 super tribes and the trading pavilion have also sent people here. Pei Qin said. They also received the news? The leader of the divine python tribe frowned and said, Well, I won't force you. Try your best. Yes. Pei Qin answered respectfully and turned off the image crystal. Ha! I didn't expect that you really killed Ancestor Mu. You're amazing. At this moment, a sneer sounded. Who is it? Pei Qin's eyes turned cold. He suddenly turned around and looked in the direction of the voice, only to see a middle-aged man walking out from behind a rock. It's you, Wu Kai. Pei Qin's old face suddenly became extremely gloomy. If I hadn't been suspicious and followed you, I would have thought that Ancestor Mu's brother had wronged you. Wu Kai chuckled. What do you want? Pei Qin's eyes surged with killing intent. Wu Kai said with a smile, Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking the opportunity to threaten you. On the contrary, I want to thank you properly. Thank me? Pei Qin frowned, but at the next moment he seemed to have thought of something, and the killing intent in his eyes quickly dissipated. He chuckled and said, Your Qilin tribe should indeed thank me properly. What do you mean? This time Wu Kai was puzzled. Pei Qin said, Guo Xiangzhong, the trusted aide of your leader, failed several times to assassinate Ancestor Mu. Now that I've helped you get rid of this big problem, shouldn't you thank me? How do you know? Wu Kai's face darkened. Ever since Ancestor Mu entered Qinghai City, I've been secretly monitoring him, so I know everything that Guo Xiangzhong has done. Pei Qin said with a smile. So your divine python tribe has started to act so early, but I'm very puzzled. Why do you want to get rid of Ancestor Mu? What deep grudge does he have with your divine python tribe? Wu Kai frowned. Pei Qin's eyes flashed, and he said expressionlessly, It's not your place to ask about these things. Wu Kai said with a smile, Okay, I've said too much. Anyway, Ancestor Mu's death is good for both of us. That's true. Pei Qin nodded with a smile and said, By the way, let me tell you another news. Guo Xiangzhong is dead. What? Wu Kai's face changed, and he asked who killed him. One is called the Big Bull, and the other is called Wang Zicheng. You've seen Wang Zicheng before. He's the young man with young Master Hao. Both of them are part of the Qinghai 10 heroes and are quite powerful. Pei Qin said, Why didn't you say so earlier? Wu Kai said angrily. If he had known at that time, even if young Master Hao and Wang Yue were present, he wouldn't have let Wang Zicheng leave the island alive. It's not too late to say it now, because the Qinghai 10 heroes will definitely come to snatch the alchemy fire. After all, they were the first to discover the alchemy fire here. With their arrogance, they won't let us snatch it easily. Pei Qin smiled mockingly. Then, without further delay, he turned into a stream of light and flew toward the volcano without looking back. Big Bull! Wang Zicheng, how dare you kill the people of my Qilin tribe? You'll all die. Wu Kai's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he turned to leave. Not long after the two left, a half-meter-long snake appeared in a pile of stones not far away. It was the Spirit Snake Emperor. The Spirit Snake Emperor's tail was wrapped around an image crystal. Hee. Looking in the direction where Pei Qin and Wu Kai disappeared, the Spirit Snake Emperor laughed sinisterly and left quietly with the image crystal. On the other side, above the sea, the inner demons Qin Feiyang stood in the wind. Whoosh! Soon, the Spirit Snake Emperor returned and gave the image crystal to the inner demons Qin Feiyang. Little guy, well done. The inner demons Qin Feiyang rubbed its head and turned on the image crystal. The scene of Pei Qin and Wu Kai's conversation immediately appeared in the void in front of them. After knowing that Qin Feiyang's true body was not dead, the Spirit Snake Emperor was not so afraid of the inner demons. It coiled on the inner demon's shoulder and laughed sinisterly. Now, the leaders of the major tribes think that we're dead. That's the effect I want. I want to see their expressions when they see us return to the divine city alive. The inner demons joked and put away the image crystal. Then he grabbed the Spirit Snake Emperor and said, "It'll be dangerous later. You should go to the castle first." The Spirit Snake Emperor nodded. The inner demons waved his hand, and the Spirit Snake Emperor disappeared immediately. Then the inner demons laughed sinisterly and turned in the air, flying toward the island again. Chapter 1044. In the center of the island, the people of the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion had all returned one after another. They each occupied one side, waiting for the birth of the alchemy fire. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying murderous intent surged like a tide, enveloping the entire island. The 10 people were shocked and looked up. When they saw the inner demons Qin Feiyang coming back, their eyes were filled with surprise. Swish! The inner demons Qin Feiyang stopped above the crater. The magma that erupted could not withstand his pressure at all and scattered all over the sky. Pei Qin smiled and asked, "Little friend, why are you back?" "I forgot one thing." The inner demons raised the corner of his mouth and glanced at the crater below. Inside the volcano, he could faintly feel the aura of the alchemy fire. Obviously, the alchemy fire that had not yet been born was inside this volcano. Seeing the inner demons glancing at the crater, the 3 people could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. Pei Qin smiled without batting an eyelid. "Little friend, there should be a first come, first served rule for everything. First come, first serve." "Are you kidding? In this world, it's about whose fist is bigger. Now I officially announce that the alchemy fire here is mine. You can get lost." The inner demons looked proud and did not put the 10 people in his eyes. Get lost? There was no doubt that the 10 people were furious, not to mention their identity. Just based on their strength, no one dared to speak to them in such a tone. The word "get lost" was not only humiliating them, but also trampling on their dignity. "You don't agree?" The inner demons glanced at the crowd, his eyes full of contempt. Although little friend's strength is exceptional, we old fellows are not too weak either. Thus, I'll give little friend a word of advice. It's best to take care of yourself. Pei Qin laughed and said. The inner demons looked at Pei Qin and said with a smile, "Old man, you seem to be the most arrogant among these people. Haven't you heard that the bird that sticks out gets shot?" Boom! After saying that, the inner demons exuded a shocking murderous aura and rushed toward Pei Qin. Damn it! Pei Qin quivered. Only now did he realize that no one else had spoken. How could he be so foolish? He was extremely vexed. However, it was too late to regret now. His gaze was gloomy as he coldly snorted. "The bird that sticks out will be shot. Let's see if you have the ability to do so." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, A terrifying emperor's aura rushed out of his old body and pounced towards Qin Feiyang. I have finally seen your cultivation level clearly. I originally thought that you were a 6-star combat emperor, but it turns out that you are just a 5-star combat emperor. The inner demon smiled contemptuously and landed in front of Pei Qin like a bolt of lightning, slapping him in the air. No battle chi. He didn't use any battle arts either. The inner demon scoffed. Did you see that? I don't even need battle aura to deal with you. Crazy. Ancestor Mu is already crazy enough, but this person is even crazier than Ancestor Mu, as expected of a brother. Wu Kai and the other's pupils shrank. However, Pei Qin was a 5-star combat emperor, but this person was only a 3-star combat emperor. There was a difference of 2 small realms, but he didn't even need to use battle aura. Wasn't he being too arrogant? As for Pei Qin, there was no doubt that he was completely enraged by the inner demon's words. Brat, you will soon know that you are not qualified to be arrogant in front of this old man. Pei Qin roared as he stretched out his old arm. Battle chi surged from his palm as he slapped towards the inner demons without any intention of dodging. This was what he thought. Since this person dared to be arrogant, he might as well take the opportunity to kill him with a single palm strike. After all, paper cannot wrap fire. If this matter was exposed one day, and this person found out that he was related to Ancestor Mu's death, then it would be even more troublesome. Therefore, he might as well cut the weeds and eliminate the roots now. Boom! In an instant, the 2 palms collided. However, at the same time, the inner demons, Qin Feiyang's palm emitted a dazzling golden light. Return formula. At that moment, Pei Qin was sent flying. His arm was lacerated and blood flowed out. What? Pei Qin was defeated. Wu Kai and the others were stunned. One must know that Pei Qin had used his battle chi. How could he be defeated by this person? What was going on? This power, it can actually rebound. Pei Qin himself was also in disbelief. After stabilizing his body, he looked at the inner demons, Qin Feiyang, in horror. Looking at your incredible appearance, I thought you were very strong. It turns out that this is all there is to it. The inner demons grinned and took a mysterious step. He left a series of phantoms around Pei Qin. Each of the phantoms was incomparably real, as if they were his clones. Phantom steps. This is a perfect auxiliary combat art. Wu Kai was shocked. A middle-aged woman frowned and said, "Why does this combat art look a little familiar?" Familiar? Everyone looked at her in surprise. I can't remember at the moment. However, this kind of footwork should be very scary because no one knows where his real body is. The middle-aged woman said in a deep voice. Everyone nodded. Pei Qin might be in trouble now. Looking at Pei Qin again. At this moment, his face was gloomy as he glanced at the phantoms of the inner demons, Qin Feiyang. Indeed, as Wu Kai and the others expected, in the face of the phantoms all over the sky, he really couldn't tell which one was Qin Feiyang's real body. However, it wasn't impossible to crack, as long as all the phantoms were destroyed. Destroy for me. He raised his head and roared, his hair standing on end. His whole body was like a rainbow, rolling in all directions. Those phantoms continued to be destroyed. Old man, I'm here. Suddenly, a playful voice rang in Pei Qin's ears. Pei Qin's hair suddenly stood up, and he didn't hesitate to throw a punch. Hey! The inner demon smiled ferociously and directly slapped with his big hand. The golden light in his palm reappeared. Boom! Ah! Accompanied by a scream, Pei Qin was once again blasted away and his arm shattered on the spot. It actually bounced back. Pei Qin's body and mind trembled. Previously, when he felt the power bouncing back, he thought it was just an illusion, because, in his opinion, there couldn't be such a strange thing in the world. But this time, he felt it incomparably real. That shattered arm was also the best proof. How do you know this kind of battle art? Pei Qin looked at the inner demons in surprise, because as far as he knew, there was another person who had mastered the same battle art. That was the infamous Qin Feiyang. What do you think? The inner demons licked his lips, raised his head, and shouted, "Ultimate ruins!" An invisible force suddenly roared towards Pei Qin like a torrent. "You're too arrogant." Pei Qin's eyes were cold, and a black aura broke out of his body. "Not good. Retreat." Wu Kai and the others changed color and quickly retreated. "What's the situation?" The inner demons was surprised. The next moment, the black aura that appeared from Pei Qin's body suddenly turned into a black fog and pounced toward Qin Feiyang with overwhelming momentum. This black mist carried a strong fragrance. The inner demons smelled it and suddenly felt dizzy. Poisonous. His eyes trembled. He actually forgot that this old thing was also a poisonous creature, and it was even more terrifying than a viper. After all, it could even control a viper. He immediately held his breath and retreated. "Ha! This poisonous gas is my biggest trump card, comparable to a perfect battle art. Even if you hold your breath, you can't stop it because it will penetrate through your pores. Look carefully. Your skin is already festering, and in less than 10 breaths, you will be smashed to pieces." Pei Qin laughed wildly, and his face was quite ferocious. The inner demons was shocked and hurriedly raised his hands and looked down. Sure enough, the skin on his hands had already shown signs of festering, and the black mist was like a gangrene attached to the bones, and once it stuck, it could not be shaken off. "Kid, I admit that you are very strong, but there is a saying that the older the ginger, the spicier it is. You are still far from it." Pei Qin looked at him disdainfully. TSK, I let you take advantage of me a little, and you are so proud. Old man, your temperament still needs to be tempered." The inner demons shook his head and sneered. The purple gold dragon aura soared into the sky, and a purple gold divine dragon quickly appeared above his head. The dragon's power shook the world. Roar! Then the purple gold divine dragon let out a deafening dragon roar, and an invisible sound wave rolled out. In an instant, the black mist between heaven and earth was annihilated one after another. Pei Qin himself was also drowned in the sound wave, and his body was dripping with blood in an instant, and even his bones could be seen in some places. Even Wu Kai and the others who had retreated far away had blood spurting out of their ears, and their minds were rumbling. They were all horrified. What kind of battle art was this? It was terrifying to such an extent. In a trance, they seemed to have seen a god descending into the world, and an indescribable fear emerged in their hearts. At the same time, the volcano also collapsed, and the magma was like fireworks, erupting all over the sky. However, the pale fire had not appeared yet. The inner demons raised his head and looked at Pei Qin, revealing a mouthful of white teeth, and laughed. "You can't even withstand a single blow! Little bastard, I will cripple you." Pei Qin was burning with anger. A dignified 5-star war emperor was actually suppressed and beaten by a 3-star war emperor, and in front of so many acquaintances. Where would he put his old face in the future? This great shame must be washed away. Boom! His hair fluttered in anger, and his entire body's aura was released. Following closely, a black giant python soared into the sky from behind him. It was hundreds of feet long, like a majestic mountain ridge, emitting a world-shaking, ferocious aura. It was his battle soul. The inner demons pretended to be afraid and exclaimed, "Ayaya, you're using your trump card so soon." "Little bastard, you won't be proud for long." Innate divine ability, light of destruction. As soon as he finished, a jet black light suddenly shot out from between the giant python's eyebrows, emitting a world-destroying power. It pierced through the sky and shot towards Qin Feiyang. "Then you may be disappointed, because I will continue to be proud and your divine python tribe will be trampled into pieces by me sooner or later. As for you, prepare to report to hell now." The inner demon's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light, and the red sword spirit appeared out of nowhere. The innate divine ability was awakened, and the flaming beast shadow roared out. Roar! Clang! The two great battle souls carried a destructive power and rushed towards the black light. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shaking sound, the black light dissipated. Following that, the two great battle arts pounced towards the giant python. Hiss! With a wail, the giant python also collapsed on the spot. Puff! The innate divine ability and battle soul were destroyed one after another. Pei Qin's body suffered an unprecedented injury. His body trembled and blood spurted out. Looking at the roaring, flaming beast shadow and the red sword spirit, a trace of despair crept into his eyes. Chapter 1045. No. Suddenly, Pei Qin's gaze trembled. The flaming beast shadow and the red sword aura were the same as Qin Feiyang's fighting soul. The same fighting soul, the same fighting art. Could he be Qin Feiyang? At the thought of this, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face as he shouted to Wu Kai, "This person is Qin Feiyang. Quickly join hands with me and kill him." What? Qin Feiyang? Wu Kai and the others stared. I remember too. Qin Feiyang's perfect auxiliary fighting art is the same as the perfect auxiliary fighting art used by this person just now. Looks like I'm right. He is Qin Feiyang. The middle-aged woman shouted. Although they had never seen Qin Feiyang before, all the super forces had investigated Qin Feiyang very clearly. Therefore, they knew all the fighting arts that Qin Feiyang used in the 9 areas. Haha, you can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. I didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be hiding in the internal sea. Wu Kai laughed in surprise and immediately rushed toward Pei Qin. The other 8 people also took action one after another. Both the main tower and the trading pavilion were looking for Qin Feiyang. As long as they could take down Qin Feiyang, they would definitely be rewarded handsomely. All 9 of them had perfect fighting arts and were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they landed in front of Pei Qin. Boom! Their auras exploded and the 9 of them attacked at the same time. The cultivation of the 9 of them was similar. How terrifying was their joint attack! There was no suspense. The red sword soul and the flaming beast shadow shattered on the spot and turned into nothingness. The inner demons also spat out a mouthful of blood, but the ruthlessness on their faces intensified. Pei Qin heaved a sigh of relief and took a healing pill. He looked at the inner demons and grinned. "Qin Feiyang, you finally showed up." And then the inner demons joked. "Ha! You dare to be so arrogant in front of so many of us? Do you really think you're invincible?" Pei Qin laughed, his old eyes filled with mockery. "Yes, I am Qin Feiyang," the inner demons said. Hearing the inner demons admit it personally, the 10 of them were even more delighted. The inner demons glanced at the 10 people with a mocking expression. "However, since I dared to take the initiative to reveal my battle soul and use my battle art, I'm naturally not afraid of being seen through by you." The smiles on their faces froze. Do you know why? If you don't know, I'll tell you. That's because I never planned to let you all leave alive from the very beginning. The inner demons grinned. "Ha ha!" The 10 of them burst into laughter. "Did you hear that? He said he was going to kill all of us. Laughable, truly laughable, ha ha!" Pei Qin laughed the loudest and most joyfully. Suddenly, the middle-aged woman frowned. "That's not right. If he is Qin Feiyang, then who is Ancestor Mu?" "I don't care who he is. Anyone who dares to kill the people of the Exchange Pavilion must die." A skinny middle-aged man stepped out. His aura was surging and his eyes were sharp. This man was the representative of the exchange pavilion. His name was Tanjing. He had the cultivation of a 6-star combat emperor. The inner demons was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, "When did I kill the people of the exchange pavilion?" "Didn't you kill Lihi?" Tanjing's eyes were hazy. "So it's him." The inner demons suddenly understood and didn't say anything else. Wu Kai also landed beside Tanjing and said coldly, "Yes, let's attack together. We can't let him escape again." He was also a 6-star combat emperor. Among the 10 people, Wu Kai and Tanjing were the strongest. The remaining 8 people, including Pei Qin, had a total of 5 5-star combat emperors. The remaining 3 people were all 4-star combat emperors. 3 4-star combat emperors, 5 5-star combat emperors, and 2 6-star combat emperors. Such a lineup could be said to be quite terrifying. However, the inner demons didn't show any fear. Instead, he had a look of disdain and said, "Let's not talk nonsense. Let's attack together. Even if you don't say it, we will attack together. Attack!" Tanjing shouted. The 10 people released their auras and turned into rays of flowing light. They rushed toward Qin Feiyang with murderous intent. This is more interesting. The inner demons was excited. The blood in his body was boiling. Boom! He activated the battle character art. The combination of battle intent and killing intent made him look like he was possessed by a demon god. Swoosh! He directly went up to meet them head-on and began to fight madly with the 10 of them. For a moment, the place was filled with battle blood and battle intent. The sky was dark and the earth was dark. Their loud bangs intertwined and shook the heavens. The terrifying shock waves from the battle swept in all directions. The sea within a radius of a few hundred miles was set off monstrous waves. What happened on the island? Brother Mu didn't really fight with the people from the 9 super tribes and the trading pavilion, did he? Above the sea, young Master Hao and Tanjing were retreating frantically while scanning the island in surprise. They were too far away to see the situation on the island. However, the overwhelming shockwaves from the battle made them feel fear and despair. He dares to fight with those people. How strong is he? On the other side of the sea, Wang Zicheng was also surprised. After separating from Wang Yu, and Tanjing, he went around to the other side of the island. He wanted to sneak in and check the situation. However, before he could enter the island, the battle on the island broke out. He had to stop. The battle ripples that were pouncing towards him caused him to be extremely terrified. In the center of the island, the inner demons used the phantom steps. He was like a human-shaped beast, fighting with blood. There was his own blood, as well as the blood of Wu Kai and the others. When they saw Qin Feiyang's purple gold dragon blood for the first time, Wu Kai and the others were really shocked. How could it be purple gold blood? And it also carried a vast dragon power? Was he the reincarnation of a divine dragon? As the battle became longer and longer, as the situation became more and more tragic, they found another incredible thing. Facing the 10 great war emperors, even if Qin Feiyang could deal with them, he would definitely suffer a lot. But the problem was here. No matter how they attacked, no matter how much blood Qin Feiyang lost, he was still full of energy. The battle intent he revealed was also getting more and more terrifying. Moreover, his injuries recovered very quickly. It was as if he had eaten a divine elixir. Over time, Wu Kai's group of 10 couldn't help but have an illusion. This person couldn't be an unkillable war god, right? Blood was splattering everywhere. The broken ground had been dyed red, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood. Boom! Suddenly, the inner demons raised his bloody arm. Golden light burst out, and he threw out 10 palms in a row. The 10 of them were immediately sent flying. I'm not in the mood to play around with you guys. Show me your true abilities. The inner demons stuck out his tongue and licked the blood at the corner of his mouth. His body shook violently, and the red sword chi in his body poured out. Clang! Above his head, 50 flaming sword shadows immediately appeared. Waves of fire surged and illuminated the surroundings. Guiyuan sword technique. The number of Guiyuan sword technique was determined by one's cultivation. Now, after the increase in strength of the kill character art, his cultivation had stepped into the War Emperor realm. The inner demons could already condense 50 sword shadows. Each sword shadow contained the peak power of a perfect battle art. This is his other killing battle art. Everyone, don't let your guard down. Wu Kai's pupils constricted. After a loud shout, he also began to evolve his battle art. A Qilin appeared. It was dozens of feet tall and was extremely ferocious. Clang, roar, boom. Tan Jing and Pei Qin's group of 9 also quickly evolved their strongest killing battle arts. There was a sharp blade that could destroy the world. There was a beast totem as large as a mountain. There was also a tornado storm that tore apart the heavens and earth. Kill! Everyone roared at the same time. The 10 killing battle arts carried a monstrous force as they blasted toward Jianing, a group of ants trying to shake a towering tree. How adorably stupid! The inner demons laughed disdainfully. He pressed his hand down, and the 50 sword shadows furiously slashed forward. It was as if a divine weapon had appeared and was unstoppable. Crack! Boom! Wu Kai's 10 battle arts were shattered one after another. Blood dripped from the corners of their mouths. However, in this collision, the inner demons suffered more serious injuries than Wu Kai's group of 10. It wasn't just 1 or 2 times. It could be described as a devastating injury. Although Jianing had an absolute advantage in terms of numbers, the 10 opponents' cultivation was still stronger than his. Wu Kai and Tan Jing were even 6-star combat emperors. To be able to shatter the battle arts of 10 people was already considered to have exceeded the inner demon's limit. If it was any other 3-star combat emperor, they would have been killed in an instant. Boom! The inner demons was like a meteorite. He fell to the ground below and was buried in dust. His body was filled with cracks and blood flowed out like a fountain. In the inner world, looking at his shattered body, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown and said, "Inner demons, you're too careless. If it wasn't for the flame of life and the battle's secret art, I'm afraid we would all be dead by now. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." The inner demons replied impatiently. He dared to risk his life because he knew that this body was immortal. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and said, "All right, I don't care anymore. You can play with them slowly. Just don't let them escape." "Ha! If they want to escape, they'll have to be immortals." The inner demons grinned and took out a healing pill with 6 pill veins. He threw it into his mouth. Boundless energy immediately rushed to his limbs and bones. In addition, after fusing with the water of life, he had a very frightening recovery speed. His shattered body was quickly healed. At the same time, in the void outside, Wu Kai and the others stood side by side, looking down at the place where Qin Feiyang fell. Their eyes were bone-chilling. They all looked quite wretched. Their hair was disheveled and their faces were stained with blood. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't appear for a long time, the middle-aged woman said, "He should be dead now, right?" Pei Qin snorted coldly and said, "If he doesn't die like this, then it's too unreasonable." Heard about it. The few of them heaved a sigh of relief as if relieved of a heavy burden. Wu Kai sighed and said, "Speaking of which, this little bastard is really difficult to deal with." Tan Jing also sighed and nodded. "Yes, it took the combined strength of the 10 of us to take him down. If it was 1-on-1, I'm afraid none of us would be his match. I just can't figure out how he can be so ridiculously strong. He doesn't look old." The middle-aged woman was puzzled. He might be one of those unparalleled geniuses that only appear once in 10,000 years. Unfortunately, he chose a path of no return. Wu Kai sneered. "Don't worry about that. Let's go find his corpse. If there's no corpse, we won't be able to get the Chief Tower Master's reward." Pei Qin said with a smile. "Ha, that's right. Let's go down." Chapter 1046. Just as the 10 of them landed on the ground, a destructive aura suddenly rushed out from the ground. It was an invisible force that contained the power to destroy the world. This change was beyond the expectations of Pei Qin and the others. Without any time to prepare, they were engulfed by the invisible force. Ah! Shrill screams resounded through the night sky. The 3 4-star combat emperors were killed on the spot, and their bodies were smashed into pieces. Pei Qin and the other 4 5-star combat emperors were also fatally injured. Their bodies were badly mutilated and their limbs were broken. They were basically crippled. Only Wu Kai and Tan Jing were slightly better off. They were 6-star combat emperors and their physical bodies were stronger than the others. Even so, they were still severely injured. "He's not dead." How is this possible? Although they had survived, their blood-stained faces were filled with disbelief. It should be known that Qin Feiyang was killed by their perfect battle art, not to mention a mere 3-star combat emperor. Even a 6-star combat emperor wouldn't be able to survive. Is this guy really unkillable? Don't panic. Even if he's not dead, he must be severely injured. Tan Jing said in a low voice. Wu Kai nodded and said, "That's right. As long as we work together, killing him will be as easy as slaughtering a dog." "Haha, you two are really naive and ridiculous." Accompanied by an arrogant laugh, the inner demons rushed out from the ground. He stood in the sky and looked down at Pei Qin and the others. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and his blood-red eyes were sharp. He was full of energy, and there was no trace of weakness. Wu Kai and Tan Jing were dumbfounded. He still looked so lively. Is this guy really the reincarnation of a monster? The inner demons glanced at the 7 of them and laughed. "You want to take my corpse for your reward? All right. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. My head is right here. Whoever has the ability can come and take it." Domineering. The 7 of them were shocked. They were considered old monsters who had been in the world for thousands of years. However, it was their first time seeing such a domineering young man. They could not help but feel a sense of fear in their hearts. "Why aren't you moving? Are you that brave? Since you're not coming, I'll take the initiative to look for you." The inner demon's eyes flashed with a cold light. He placed his hands in front of his chest and formed a seal. A destructive wave suddenly rolled out from his hands. What is he doing? Pei Qin was bewildered. That fluctuation made him shudder involuntarily, as if something big was about to happen. "Don't worry about it. Do your best to kill him." Tan Jing roared. Clang! A war blade rushed into the sky. It was several hundred meters long, and it was completely black. It emitted a shocking might. This was his fighting soul. Roar! Chirp! Wu Kai, Pei Qin, and the other 5 also summoned their fighting souls. As the famous combat emperors from the various superforces, their fighting souls were considered top-notch fighting souls. For a moment, the void here was twisting crazily as if it was about to collapse. The island was also trembling violently. The waves on the surface of the sea were surging as if the end of the world had arrived. "Kill!" The 7 of them roared furiously. The battle spirit roared in the sky. Innate ability, destruction in all directions. The terrifying power made people tremble. However, looking at the 7 roaring battle spirits, the inner demon's eyes were filled with disdain. "Come out, divine dragon seal," he said coldly as a purple gold square seal appeared between his hands. Clang! Boom! A mighty dragon aura erupted in an instant, shrouding the entire sea region in an overwhelming manner. At this moment, within a radius of a few hundred miles, regardless of whether the sea beasts on the surface of the sea or under the sea, regardless of whether they were sacred beasts or emperor beasts, all of them prostrated themselves. their faces filled with horror. They actually knelt down. Could it be that a divine dragon has really appeared on the island? Wang Zicheng, Wang Yu'er, and young Master Hao looked at the sea beast's reactions and were extremely shocked. Despair, all of you. The inner demons looked down at the 7 of them condescendingly. His entire body emitted a great majesty, as if he was a god that had descended to the mortal world. Clang! The divine dragon seal broke through the air and transformed into a huge divine seal. It was as bright as a mountain. Roar, Kacha, following a series of painful howls and deafening explosions. The battle spirits of Pei Qin and the others were shattered one after another. They were simply like dead wood, unable to withstand a single blow. Puff! The 7 of them spurted out blood. They panicked and were afraid. They turned around and fled for their lives. For experts of their level, fleeing was a great humiliation. However, at this moment, they really did not have the courage to fight. Too powerful. A 3-star combat emperor was suppressing them. How heaven-defying was this kind of combat strength? However, the divine dragon seal was a divine skill, and its power was unpredictable. Even if they were given wings, they would not be able to escape. Boom! The divine seal cut through the air and suppressed the 7 of them. The divine aura descended, and the 7 of them trembled both physically and mentally. They did not dare to escape anymore. They turned around and knelt in the air. Their faces were filled with panic as they begged, "Young Master Qin, please spare our lives." The inner demon's lips curled up as he walked towards the 7 of them. Seeing the inner demons getting closer and closer, the 7 of them became even more frightened and trembled. Finally, the inner demons landed in front of the 7 of them and said playfully, "Didn't you guys want to take me to receive a reward?" "We were just joking." Yes. "You're so powerful. How would we dare to touch you?" The 7 of them waved their hands, and their old faces were filled with flattery and flattery. "So you combat emperors are nothing more than this. You're all a bunch of cowards. Boring." The inner demons shook his head in disappointment. Yes. "We're cowards. We're trash. You'll dirty your hands by killing us. Why don't you let us go? We promise that we won't cause trouble for you in the future." The 7 of them hurriedly said. In the face of death, self-esteem and face were nothing. So boring. The inner demons waved his hand, and the divine dragon seal fell like lightning. Other than Pei Qin, the other 6 of them died on the spot. Pei Qin was scared silly and even peed his pants. The inner demons said, "Do you know why I didn't kill you?" "I don't know." Pei Qin shook his head. The inner demon's eyes flashed and said, "According to my investigation, Li He and Xin Feiyun were killed by your divine python tribe." "This? How do you know?" Pei Qin looked at him in shock. "That's true." The inner demons muttered and laughed. "How about this? Let's make a deal. As long as you tell me what I want to know, I'll let you live." "What do you want to know?" Pei Qin was surprised. The inner demon said, "I want to know what kind of information does Fu Anshan have on your leader?" You, the inner demons, was extremely shocked. Wasn't the reason why your divine python tribe attacked Xin Feiyun and Li He at Fu Anshan's behest? I'm just wondering, why would a dignified super tribe listen to him? The inner demons laughed playfully. "Don't say any more. I won't tell you anything." Pei Qin roared and slapped his own forehead with his palm. Crack! Immediately, his head cracked and blood gushed out. Then he stared at the inner demons with resentment and fell down powerlessly. The sudden change caught the inner demons off guard. He stared blankly at Pei Qin. He never thought that this person would be so loyal, refusing to say anything even if he died. When he came back to his senses, he quickly swooped down and grabbed Pei Qin. He reached out to feel his pulse and found that Pei Qin was already dead. "What is the secret that you want to keep even if you die?" The inner demons muttered, feeling rather annoyed. Boom! However, at this moment, a terrifying killing intent emerged. Immediately after, a dazzling battle chi poured down from the nine heavens like the curtain of the Milky Way. There's still someone else? The inner demon suddenly raised his head, killing intent surging in his eyes. Then, his index finger pointed in the air, and an invisible force emerged, turning into a shocking wave and colliding with the battle chi. With a loud bang, the battle chi instantly disintegrated, and the invisible force continued to roar towards the sky. The battle chi dissipated, and the inner demons finally saw the people standing in the sky. There were 4 young men and women. All of them were as handsome as jade, with extraordinary temperament, and all of them were wearing white robes and long skirts. They stood in the clouds, looking down at the inner demons, without any expression on their faces. But between their eyebrows, there was a pride that could not be ignored. "How dare you sneak attack me? You're courting death!" The inner demons smiled ferociously, leaped up, and rushed towards the clouds. However, the 4 people just looked at him coldly. "Let's go!" Suddenly, a young man in white spoke with a cold and emotionless tone. A woman in white next to him nodded, waved her jade-like hand, and an ancient stone door emerged. Clang! With the emergence of a holy aura, the stone door quickly opened. The gate of time and space. The inner demon stopped and looked at the stone door in surprise. But it was not the real gate of time and space, but an imitation. However, the imitation gate of time and space was not in the hands of Mu Qing. I see. Suddenly, the inner demons showed a look of understanding, then looked at the 4 people and said jokingly, "You should be the few people that Mu Qing mentioned. If I remember correctly, Mu Qing told me that you would come to find trouble with me. Why did you leave without even saying goodbye?" The 4 people still did not say a word, but if one looked carefully, one would find that their hands were clenched tightly. "I heard Mu Qing talking so seriously. I thought that you were some powerful people, but it turns out that you're just a few cowardly rats." The inner demons shook his head and laughed, full of contempt. "I can't take it any more." The young man in white who spoke first said, with cold light surging in his eyes, "Ignore him." The woman in white, who opened the gate of time and space, said lightly, then led the 3 people into the gate of time and space without looking back. "Rats." The inner demons smiled disdainfully, then looked around. The enemies were either dead or running away, and now they did not know what to do. "It's so lonely to be invincible. I'd better go to my inner world." After a while, he shook his head and sighed, and was about to enter his inner world. But at this moment, the inner demon's eyes had a touch of surprise, and he turned to look at the other side of the island. He suddenly sensed a familiar aura sneaking into the island. "Hee. I was worried that I couldn't find a chance to capture you, but I didn't expect you to send yourself to me. Then I won't be polite." Chapter 1047. At the same time, on the shore of the island, a young man wearing only underpants sneaked into the island. It was none other than Wang Zicheng. He stood on a small hillside, looking at the center of the island. "The fluctuations have stopped. The battle is really over, but I don't know who won. But no matter who won, I have to be careful." He muttered a few words in a low voice and lurked in the direction of the volcano. Along the way, he was particularly careful, afraid of making the slightest noise. He also thought that no one knew that he had sneaked into the island. However, he did not know that soon after entering the island, someone was secretly watching him. After a while, Wang Zicheng came near the volcano, hid behind a rock, and looked in front. Damn, it's so tragic. When he saw the broken ground near the volcano, his pupils couldn't help but shrink. And on the ground there were bits and pieces of bones and flesh everywhere. The smell of blood was pungent, as if it was a sure hell. "There are so many bones, it should be those 10 people. Where's ancestor Mu's brother? Why don't I see him? Forget it. Let's go and see the alchemy fire first. Wang Zicheng walked out from behind the rock, looked around for a while, and ran toward the crater of the volcano. The volcano had disappeared, but the magma continued to erupt. He stood at the edge of the crater, looked down, carefully sensed for a while, and finally breathed a sigh of relief, muttering, "Fortunately, the alchemy fire is still there." "What are you looking at?" Suddenly, a suspicious voice came from behind him. Wang Zicheng's body stiffened, slowly turned around, and saw the inner demon's Qin Feiyang standing behind him. "Brother Mu, where did you go just now? I couldn't find you for a long time. I was worried sick," he asked with a concerned look, but his expression was very unnatural. "Is that so? Then why are you sneaking around like a thief?" The inner demons teased. "Oh no, did he find out long ago?" Wang Zicheng's body and mind tightened, and he smiled awkwardly. "I'm afraid of those 10 people." The inner demons mocked. "They've already been killed. Their bones are all here." Wang Zicheng glanced at the skeletons on the ground and said in admiration, "Big Brother Mu is truly unparalleled. This little brother admires you." The inner demons chuckled. "You flatter me. Actually, I admire you. You're the first one who dares to play tricks in front of me." "Me? Playing tricks?" Wang Zicheng panicked and quickly waved his hand. No, Big Brother Mu, what are you talking about? How could I dare to play tricks in front of you? Do you know? Often, people who think they are very smart are actually stupid idiots. You are such a person." The inner demon's eyes turned cold. They pressed Wang Zicheng to the ground and said, "Brat, you're lucky. If it weren't for your talent and potential, you would have turned into a pile of bones." After saying that, he stepped on Wang Zicheng's back, immobilizing him. Then he formed a seal with both hands, and an enslavement seal quickly appeared and entered the top of Wang Zicheng's head. "Ah!" Wang Zicheng howled miserably and said in shock and anger, "Big Brother Mu, what did you do to me?" "I wonder if you've heard of the enslavement seal? Right now, your little life is already in my hands. If you dare to be presumptuous, I will kill you. But don't be depressed, because you're not the first. Viper, Danwonkai, and Black Monkey have all become my slaves." The inner demons lifted his foot and released Wang Zicheng. Wang Zicheng immediately got up and looked at the inner demons in shock. "You don't believe me?" The inner demons said. "I'd be a ghost if I believed you." Wang Zicheng cursed and turned to run. "Naive." The inner demons shook his head and sneered. With a thought, Wang Zicheng immediately staggered and fell to the ground. He held his head and screamed. "It hurts. This is true. Wang Zicheng, have actually become another slave. I don't want to," Wang Zicheng muttered to himself. His face was full of disbelief. Finally, he roared and took out the holy dagger and rushed toward the inner demons. "You've got some backbone, but you're still far from it." The inner demons sneered and kicked Wang Zicheng's lower abdomen. With a cry, Wang Zicheng was sent flying and fell to the ground heavily, biting a mouthful of mud. "I'll never be another slave. Kill me." He ignored the pain and looked up at the inner demons with a ferocious expression. Not bad. You've got more backbone than Viper and the others. But the more you act like this, the more I like you. You don't want to submit? It's okay, I won't force you. You can stay by my side for now. Sooner or later, I'll make you submit of your own accord." The inner demons smiled confidently. "Dream on," Wang Zicheng roared. "Then we'll see. Now I'll give you a mission. Go and tell Wang Yu and young master how to return to the island where we met before. My brother Mu ancestor will go and find them soon." The inner demons said, "Why should I go just because you ask me to?" Wang Zicheng raised his eyebrows. "You have to think clearly. If I kill you now, I won't lose anything, but you'll lose your life for nothing. On the contrary, if you listen to me and live well, maybe you'll find a chance to turn things around in the future. The inner demon smiled. Wang Zicheng's expression was uncertain. A moment later, he glared at the inner demons fiercely, then got up and flew in the direction of Wang Yu, and young Master Hao. The inner demons immediately took out the image crystal. Buzz! Soon, the shadow of the viper appeared. Looking at Qin Feiyang at this moment, Viper's pupils contracted, and he said in surprise, "You can't be," the inner demons coldly said. "Yes, I'm the inner demons, and now I'm in control of this body." Viper's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly knelt in the void and respectfully said, "Master, what orders do you have?" The inner demons said, "I'm now at the birthplace of the pill fire. You immediately deceived the big bull and the others." "Good. I'll do it right away." Viper nodded, and then the shadow dissipated. At the same time, in a certain mountain, there's a behemoth. This is the Mujia. In the conference hall, the Mujia's patriarch sat on the main seat, and the Mujia's great ancestor and second ancestor sat on both sides of the table. Behind the Mujia's patriarch, there's a young man in purple standing. It's Mu Qing. Opposite them, there are 4 young men and women standing respectfully. It's the 4 people who attacked the inner demons before, but the result was that they fled without a fight. At this moment, the woman in white who opened the gate of time and space was holding an image crystal in her hand. The image crystal exuded a hazy light, and a picture flashed in the void above. The picture showed the scene of the inner demons and Pei Qin's 10 people fighting. The Mujia's patriarch, great ancestor, second ancestor, and Mu Qing all stared at the picture, and their expressions were extremely heavy. Soon, the picture disappeared. The woman in white put away the image crystal and looked at the Mujia's patriarch. The patriarchs didn't speak, and the atmosphere was very dignified. No one knows how long has passed. The Mujia's patriarch looked up at the 4 people and frowned. What happened? How did he suddenly become so strong? We don't know. When he came, he was already like this. The woman in white shook her head. The Mujia's patriarch raised his eyebrows, turned to look at the great ancestor and second ancestor, and said, "2 ancestors, do you think he's Qin Feiyang?" The great ancestor said, "From what he said at the end, we can basically conclude that he's Qin Feiyang." Then what the hell is going on? Before going to Qinghai, he was still a battle saint. How long has it been since then? How did he become a 3-star combat emperor? Isn't this too outrageous? The Mujia's patriarch frowned. The great ancestor and second ancestor also couldn't figure it out. The second ancestor suddenly looked at Mu Qing and asked, "Qing, you're more familiar with Qin Feiyang than us. Do you know what's going on?" "I'm basically clear about his methods, but this time I really don't understand." Mu Qing rubbed her head and looked a little irritated. The great ancestor sighed. It seems that this child still has a lot of unknown methods, and the threat to us is getting bigger and bigger. The Mujia's patriarch nodded. "Yes, he's almost out of our control." "Father, what you said is wrong. When did we really control him?" Mu Qing rolled her eyes. The Mujia's patriarch was stunned, and then he couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Yes." From the beginning to the end, they've never really controlled Qin Feiyang. They've always been in a relationship of mutual cooperation and mutual use. In short, we can't let him grow anymore. Otherwise, in the future, our Mujia will definitely fall into his hands. The great ancestor was worried. His old eyes flashed with a sharp light. Mu Qing was surprised. "Great ancestor, do you mean to make a move on him now?" "Aren't you asking the obvious?" "Definitely not now. However, once we enter the miracle and achieve our goal, we'll eliminate him as soon as possible. In short, we can't let him come back alive," the great ancestor said. The Mujia's patriarch and the second ancestor nodded in agreement. In addition, We must find out the reason why his cultivation soared. Qing! I'll leave this matter to you. The great ancestor looked at Mu Qing and said, Okay. Mu Qing nodded. Then that's it. After the great ancestor finished speaking, he got up and left with the second ancestor. The Mujia's patriarch also got up and looked at the 4 people in white. The miracle is about to open. You 4 are the pillars of our Mujia. You must hurry up and cultivate. Yes, the 4 people respectfully responded. The Mujia's patriarch said a few more words to Mu Qing and left the great council hall. Sigh, what a pain in the ass. Originally, I wanted to let you guys suffer a little, but I didn't expect that the result would be you guys running away in a panic. How can I face him in the future? Mu Qing looked at the 4 people in white with anger. Young lord, we don't like to hear this. That's right, you don't even look at his current cultivation. How can we deal with him? If you have the ability, then go ahead. The 4 people looked at Mu Qing with dissatisfaction, but more than that, they felt humiliated. As the patriarch said, they're the kings of the younger generation of the Mujia. They have inviolable majesty. It's the first time they've run away without a fight. Chapter 1048. On the volcanic island, the inner demons stood beside the volcano. Their bloody hair danced in the wind, and their hostility soared into the sky. Whoosh! A moment later, Wang Zicheng returned and landed in front of the inner demons. They've already left. The inner demons nodded and stared at the void in front of them. No one knew what they were thinking. Wang Zicheng frowned and said, Then I'll leave first. With this demon around, there was definitely no hope for the alchemy fire, so it was better to leave as soon as possible. Leave? Where are you going? Didn't I tell you? You have to stay by my side and never leave me. The inner demons said. Wang Zicheng's face darkened, and he said angrily, Do you really think I'm your follower? The inner demons shook his finger and said playfully, You're wrong. You're not a follower. You're a servant. Don't go too far. Wang Zicheng was furious. I have the strength. So what if I bully you? If you have the ability, come and defeat me. The inner demons looked at Wang Zicheng contemptuously, as if they were going to eat him up. Wang Zicheng clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. If you don't have the ability, then shut up. The inner demons glanced at Wang Zicheng coldly, then retracted his aura and sat cross-legged on the ground, waiting for the big bull and the others to arrive. Wang Zicheng looked at the inner demons gloomily for a moment and asked, Who are you and your brother, Ancestor Mu? Ordinary people, the inner demons said indifferently. Wang Zicheng's veins bulged. Ordinary people were more abnormal than the other. It was obvious that they were teasing him. I'll endure it. He took a deep breath and asked again, Then where is your brother now? I don't know, the inner demons said. You don't know? You don't know. You asked me to tell young master Hao and Wang Yu, or that Ancestor Mu will look for them later? Aren't you playing with me? Wang Zicheng was about to explode. The inner demons said disdainfully, Aren't you very smart? Can't you tell that I'm deliberately sending them away? Deliberately? Wang Zicheng raised his eyebrows. The inner demon smirked and mocked. Brother Wang, take a closer look and see who I am. Wang Zicheng looked at the inner demons suspiciously, feeling a little confused. No. Suddenly, his gaze trembled. This person called him Brother Wang? Could it be? A terrifying thought crept into Wang Zicheng's mind. Could it be that you are Ancestor Mu? He asked in surprise. Correct. The inner demons nodded. Wang Zicheng shook his head and said, That's impossible. Ancestor Mu is clearly just a battle saint, but you, the inner demons said, Don't I look like one? Wang Zicheng nodded and said, Yes, but the difference in your cultivation is too great. Don't joke around. How could you be Ancestor Mu? The inner demon chuckled and closed her eyes. She didn't say anything else. Wang Zicheng also fell silent. He carefully sized up the inner demons. Time slowly passed. Whoosh! After an unknown amount of time, 2 ear-piercing sounds could be heard. Dan Wankai and the black monkey flew through the air and landed in front of the inner demons. They bowed and said, "Greetings, Master." Master? Wang Zicheng was stunned. He originally thought that the inner demons was just joking. He didn't expect to be captured. Looking at Wang Zicheng, Dan Wankai and the black monkey felt ashamed. The inner demons opened his eyes and glanced at the 2 of them. He asked suspiciously, "Why are you here?" "Not long ago, we received a message from Viper. He said that you were doing something here, so we rushed over to see if we could help." The black monkey winked and smiled flatteringly. The inner demons chuckled and said, "You're quite sensible. I'll reward you with a potential pill later." "Thank you, Master." The 2 of them were overjoyed. "Wait, what action? What potential pill? Can someone explain it to me?" Wang Zicheng hurriedly asked. "This," the black monkey and the black monkey glanced at Wang Zicheng, then looked at the inner demons with a questioning gaze. They were obviously asking if they should tell Wang Zicheng. The inner demons didn't say anything and closed his eyes again. The 2 of them didn't dare to say anything and stood respectfully on both sides of the inner demons. "What's going on?" Wang Zicheng looked at the 3 of them anxiously, but didn't answer him. Whoosh! Soon after, Viper also came and said respectfully, "Master, I've already informed Barbarian Bull and the others. I believe they'll be here soon." The inner demons didn't open his eyes. He nodded and said, "You did well. I'll reward you with a potential pill later." "Thank you, Master." Without a doubt, Viper was also overjoyed. Seeing Viper's expression, Wang Zicheng was even more surprised. What was a potential pill? Why were the 3 of them so excited? He glanced at the inner demons, then turned his eyes to Viper and secretly transmitted his voice. "Old Viper, we're on good terms, right?" Viper was stunned for a moment, then said indifferently, "Don't try to get close to me. I'm not familiar with you." Wang Zicheng's face stiffened, and he was furious in his heart. He secretly laughed and said, "Don't be like this. At most, I'll return Viper number 1 to you. Just tell me, what exactly is a potential pill?" "No need." Viper turned his head and looked elsewhere, appearing incomparably cold. "Phut, you don't even want Viper number 1. Wang Zicheng was completely shocked. One must know that Viper number 1 was a sacred artifact, but for the potential pill, Viper didn't even care about sacred artifacts. Could it be that this potential pill was a divine item? Torment. Right now, every minute and every second was torment for Wang Zicheng. Boom! Suddenly, the speed of the eruption of magma from the volcano behind them suddenly increased. Next, an aura comparable to a war saint roared out from the volcano. The inner demons immediately stood up and released his battle chi, forming a battle chi barrier to block the surging magma. Then he turned around and looked at the volcano. At the same time, Wang Zicheng, Viper, and the other 2 also turned around and looked at the volcano in shock. Suddenly, Dan Wankai said in surprise, "The alchemy fire inside the volcano has taken shape and is about to be born." Heard of it, the inner demon's spirit was lifted. With this cluster of 7th grade alchemy fire and Dan Wangsai's alchemy fire, the nether devil flame could be upgraded to 8th grade. 8th grade alchemy fire that was in existence comparable to war emperors. Although alchemy fire was usually used for alchemy, sometimes it could also be used for battle. For example, in the future, if they encountered a 9-star war saint like Wang Zicheng, they wouldn't even need to make a move. As long as they revived the nether devil flame, they would be able to kill a large number of them in an instant. Whoosh! It was also at this moment, on the distant sea, figures broke through the air like lightning. There were a total of 6 people, 4 young men and 2 young women. Their auras were unfathomable. This aura! Big Barbarian Bull looked at the island, his rough face full of surprise. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and roared, "The alchemy fire is about to be born! Everyone hurry up!" The alchemy fire is about to be born. The other 5 people's eyes trembled and immediately used a mysterious footwork, shooting toward the island. They're coming. At the same time, Viper also sensed the aura of Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people. The inner demons raised his head and looked at the 6 people. Light flashed in his eyes, and in the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. Did he go to the castle? Or did he use the invisibility technique? Wang Zicheng and the other 3 people looked at the void in surprise. Not long after, Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people landed on top of the volcano and looked down at Viper and the other 3 people. "You're all here so soon?" The 6 people were surprised. Dan Wangkai coldly snorted. "As the #1 alchemist in Qinghai, how can I let the alchemy fire fall into the hands of trash like you? Of course you have to come early." "Yes, when it comes to alchemy, you, Dan Wangkai, have the most right to speak, but it won't be easy for you to get this alchemy fire." One of the young men sneered. This person was about 8 meters tall. He was neither fat nor thin, but his face was as pale as paper. His dark eyes were filled with a trace of gloominess. Dan Wangkai raised his eyebrows and looked at the young man. "Dead face, you're not an alchemist. What do you want the alchemy fire for? Isn't this a waste of God's gift?" "I'm happy to." The man called Dead Face sneered. Swish. Then Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people landed beside Wang Zicheng and the other 3 people and stared at the volcano. "Cut the crap. The alchemy fire is about to be born. Let's use our own methods." One of the women said. She was wearing a black suit that outlined her graceful figure. Her hair was tied together, making her look valiant and formidable. There were 2 daggers on her waist. Although they were hidden in the scabbards, they couldn't hide their sharp edge. Big Barbarian Bull said, "Okay, let's do as the Ghost Queen said. We'll use our own methods." Hearing that, Viper, Dan Wangkai, and the Black Monkey looked at the 6 people, then looked at each other with a trace of ridicule in their eyes. With the inner demons, Qin Feiyang here, who could snatch this cluster of alchemy fire? "Right, Viper!" Big Barbarian Bull looked at Viper and asked, "Didn't you say that Ancestor Mu is here? Why don't I see him?" The other 5 people were also puzzled. "Hee. Finally everyone is here." A sinister laugh spread out. The inner demons appeared out of thin air. But at this moment, the inner demons hid their cultivation. "It's really you." Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 people's pupils shrank. They immediately spread out and surrounded the inner demons. The inner demons didn't move at all. They just looked at them playfully. The woman called Ghost Queen said, "Viper, don't forget our agreement. When we take him down, give each of us a bottle of sacred water." "Sure, as long as you have the ability." Viper snickered. At the same time, Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey's faces were also full of ridicule. Wang Zicheng looked at the expressions of Viper and the other 2, then looked at Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5, and finally looked at the inner demons Qin Feiyang. His brows were tightly knitted together. Suddenly, his gaze trembled as he quickly looked at Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 and shouted, "This is a scam, run!" "Scam?" The 6 people were stunned. The inner demons turned to look at Wang Zicheng and grinned. "It seems that you've already guessed it. Unfortunately, it's too late." As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying emperor's aura appeared and instantly enveloped the entire place. Big Barbarian Bull and the other 5 were immediately imprisoned in the void. However, their faces were filled with disbelief. How could it be Emperor's aura? Wasn't he a battle saint? And why were the expressions of Viper and the other 2 so strange? What the hell is going on? "Sigh, Wang Zicheng sighed deeply. Although everyone had opened the gate of potential, they had only opened the first level. They could barely break the pressure of a 1-star battle saint, but it was impossible for a 3-star battle saint. Too late. Chapter 1049. The 6 of them were still living in a dream. Whoosh! The inner demons formed a seal with both hands, and 6 enslavement seals appeared one after another, quickly controlling the 6 of them. Dan Wonkai smiled and said, "Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to all of you for joining Master's forces." Master? The 6 of them looked at each other. That's called an enslavement seal. It can control everyone's soul. In other words, your lives are now in the Master's hands. Remember, don't have any thoughts of disobedience. Master only needs a single thought to erase your souls. I believe I don't need to tell you what it means to have your soul erased. Dan Wonkai, the Viper, and the Black Monkey wore smiles on their faces. The 10 heroes of Qinghai were all captured, and now they felt much better. However, Big Barbarian Bull's group of 6 turned pale with fright. There was actually such a thing. They finally understood what Wang Zicheng meant by a scam. The Phantom Queen glanced at Dan Wonkai and the other 2 and said angrily, "Not only are you captured, but you also dragged us into the water. You are simply bastards." Viper smiled and said, "Don't worry. Although you hate us now, you will thank us later." Thank us? The 6 of them sneered as if they had heard the biggest joke in the world, and their eyes were gloomy to the extreme. "You don't believe me? Then let's wait and see." Viper said. The inner demons glanced at everyone and said with a smile, "Okay, introduce yourselves." The 10 monsters of Qinghai were finally all under his command, and he was in a very good mood now. Humph! The 6 of them snorted coldly and remained silent. "Are you all mute?" The inner demon's eyes turned cold, and with a thought, the 6 of them immediately held their heads and howled. The big bull said angrily, "We are so familiar with each other. Do we still need to introduce ourselves?" The inner demons stopped operating the enslavement seal and looked at the big bull. "You don't need to, but what about you?" He looked at the Phantom Queen and the other 4. Dead Face took a step forward and said, "My name is Dead Face. That's what everyone calls me." The inner demons glanced at the pale face of the dead man and nodded. "It does look like a dead man's face." Dead Face clenched his hands, held back the anger in his heart, and retreated to the side. The Ghost Empress stepped forward and said, "My name is the Ghost Empress." The inner demons scrutinized the Spectre Queen. This woman's attire fully accentuated her alluring figure, and her skin was as soft and smooth as mutton fat. The most attractive thing about her was her eyes, which were sparkling and translucent, like gemstones. It was no exaggeration to say that this woman's beauty was comparable to Wang Yu-er's. The inner demons licked his lips and chuckled. "You're my type. Are you interested in being my woman?" Scram! The Spirit Queen's face darkened. The inner demons shook his head in disappointment. "She does look good, but her personality is too fiery. She's not suitable for me." Next, another woman stepped forward. There were only 2 women among the 10 elites of the Qinghai Sea. The first one was the Ghost Empress, and the second one was her. This woman was wearing a snow-white dress. Her figure was exquisite, her long hair fluttered, and her facial features were exquisite. In terms of beauty, she was not inferior to the Ghost Empress, but her face was as cold as frost, like a piece of ice. Ice Empress. After saying that, the woman stepped aside and fell silent. Like her name, she gave people a sense of coldness that kept people thousands of miles away. The inner demons looked at the remaining 3 young men. These 3 people were about 1.78 meters tall. Their facial features were as sharp as knives, and they were full of resoluteness and sharpness. They all had long, fiery red hair, and if one looked carefully, they would find that they were similar in size and age, and even their expressions and appearances were very similar. The inner demons asked, "Are you brothers?" Yes. The three of them nodded. Triplets? The inner demons asked again. The three of them nodded again. The inner demon's face twitched. He had encountered triplets. Wasn't he too lucky? But then again, the three brothers were able to become one of the 10 elites of the Qinghai Sea. Their genes were extraordinarily strong. The inner demons asked, "What are your nicknames?" One of them said, "My name is God 1. My 2 brothers are God 2 and God 3. That's easy to remember. The inner demons nodded. Then he looked at Wang Zicheng and said playfully, "Everyone has a nickname. What's yours?" Wang Zicheng's face immediately showed a trace of awkwardness when he heard that. Viper smiled obsequiously and said, "Master, he's a person who only cares about profits. He often backstabs people, so we all call him villain." Wang Zicheng's veins were bulging. He roared, "Are you done, Viper? You've always been this kind of person. Why are you afraid of others talking about you?" Viper sneered. Wang Zicheng gritted his teeth. His eyes were spitting fire. "Ha ha!" The inner demon laughed out loud. Then he looked at Wang Zicheng and said in all seriousness, "Let me say something fair. This nickname suits you very well." "Get lost!" Wang Zicheng shouted angrily. This nickname, to him, was a big stain in his life. "Enough!" The inner demon's face turned cold. He glanced at the 10 of them and said, "Now that you are all my servants, I don't want to see you fighting openly and secretly. If I find out who is playing tricks behind my back, don't blame me for being ruthless." Looking at the inner demon's blood-red eyes, the 10 of them could not help but tremble. Boom! At this moment, accompanied by a deafening sound, a terrifying aura erupted from the volcano. Following closely, a fiery red stream of light rushed out of the magma. It was a cluster of flames, about the size of a palm. Waves of fire surged, emitting an extremely high temperature. Alchemy fire! Wang Zicheng and the others' eyes lit up. They instinctively glanced at the alchemy fire. The inner demons ignored them and let the 10 of them snatch it. In the end, Dan Wangkai was the first to grab the alchemy fire. He stood in the air, looking down at the alchemy fire, his face full of excitement. "Dan Wangkai, put it down!" The great barbarian bull shouted, "TCH!" Dan Wangkai smiled disdainfully and quickly swooped down. He respectfully handed the alchemy fire to the inner demons. "Very good." The inner demons smiled and nodded. He reached out and grabbed the alchemy fire. He looked up at the great barbarian bull and the others and sneered, "Do you still want it?" The expressions of the great barbarian bull and the others froze. It was only now that they realized that they had no choice. Even if they managed to snatch it, they would have to obediently hand it over. Don't do it again. A hint of killing intent flashed in the eyes of the inner demons. Everyone suddenly felt as if they had fallen into a sea of killing intent. They could not help but feel chills all over their bodies. Viper hurriedly flew in front of the inner demons and said with a flattering smile, "Master, this is a misunderstanding. I went to snatch it for you." "Yes, yes, yes. How would we dare to take it for ourselves?" The black monkey echoed. Looking at the two's fawning and cowardly appearance, Wang Zicheng and the others could not help but secretly despise them. Clap. Wonderful. Wonderful. Suddenly, there was a burst of applause, followed by hoarse laughter. Everyone was shocked. They turned their heads in unison and looked at a broken mountain not far away, because the applause and laughter came from behind the hill. "Who's playing tricks over there?" the black monkey shouted. Before he finished speaking, an old man walked out. He was wearing a bright red robe. His face was ruddy and his eyes were full of spirit. If one looked closely, one would find that his left sleeve was empty. It was obviously a broken arm. "It's you." The inner demons was surprised. This old man was the one-armed old man they met at the seaside back then. "Old bastard, you've finally shown yourself." But at the same time, Wang Zicheng's angry roar sounded. The inner demons was slightly taken aback. They turned to look at Wang Zicheng suspiciously, only to see Wang Zicheng's face full of anger and killing intent. They looked at Viper and the others, who also had a look of fear. "Do you know him?" the inner demons asked secretly. Viper whispered, "Of course, because he's the one who stole Wang Zicheng's Sage King title." "So it's him," the inner demons murmured. "Old bastard, die." Wang Zicheng was like an angry beast. He took a step forward and threw a punch at the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man's face turned cold. "It seems that the lesson from last time hasn't taught you a lesson yet." After saying that, he did not do anything, but a terrifying aura emerged and directly blasted Wang Zicheng away. Wang Zicheng fell to the ground in a sorry state, creating a deep pit. Then, with a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood. "So strong!" The inner demons' pupils shrank. The aura released by the old man carried a terrifying emperor's aura. Moreover, this emperor's aura was stronger than his. Boom! At the same time, seeing that Wang Zicheng was seriously injured, Viper and the others also released their auras. They stared coldly at the one-armed old man, ready to fight to the death. "Don't be impulsive," the inner demons shouted. He looked at the one-armed old man and cupped his fists. "May I ask when Senior arrived?" This was a very serious problem. If the one-armed old man had arrived earlier, then the battle between him and Pei-Chin and the others would have been seen by the old man. Then his true identity would have been known by the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man pointed at Barbarian Bull's group and said, "When you subdued them, this old man was already here." The inner demons breathed a sigh of relief. When he subdued Barbarian Bull's group, the battle had already ended. Therefore, this old man still did not know that he was Qin Feiyang. The next problem was easy to solve. He just needed to figure out the one-armed old man's purpose in coming here. The inner demons was puzzled. "Then what is Senior doing here? Is it also for the alchemic fire?" The one-armed old man smiled. "The alchemic fire is only secondary. You are this old man's main target." There was a cold glint in his old eyes. The inner demon's heart trembled. It seemed that the old man did not come with good intentions. However, he did not understand. If this old man really wanted to kill him, why didn't he make a move earlier? Most importantly, he had only seen this old man twice, let alone have any grudges. Why was he targeting him? He asked calmly, "Senior, what do you mean by that? Why can't this junior understand?" The one-armed old man said, before answering this question, "I want to know, are you admiring your ancestors?" "Yes." The inner demons hesitated for a moment, but in the end he nodded truthfully. "I really am admiring my ancestors." Wang Zicheng's heart trembled as he looked at the inner demons in shock. Chapter 1050. The one-armed old man's reaction was the same as Wang Zicheng's. He looked at the inner demons in surprise. After a long time, he came back to his senses and asked, "How did you do it?" The inner demons raised his eyebrows and said, "This is Junior's privacy. Isn't it inappropriate for Senior to ask this?" "Is it inappropriate?" The one-armed old man's eyes flashed with a hint of ridicule. The Emperor's might was like a waterfall covering the sky and earth, instantly imprisoning Qin Feiyang, Wang Zicheng, and the other 10 people. Then, the one-armed old man looked at the inner demons and said jokingly, "Then, is it appropriate now? Senior, are you looking for trouble?" The inner demons also had a trace of hostility between his brows. He was the inner demons, the embodiment of all evil. It was not easy for him to make such a concession, but this one-armed old man did not know how to restrain himself at all. He was becoming more and more presumptuous and was about to infuriate him. The one-armed old man laughed sinisterly. "No, this old man is not here to find trouble. I am here to kill you under orders." "Under orders?" The inner demons was surprised and asked, "Under whose orders?" "That's none of your business," answered this old man. "As long as you tell this old man the truth, this old man will give you a quick death." The one-armed old man laughed arrogantly. "Heard." The inner demons calmed down and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll tell you. Some time ago, I found a ruin and found a few divine pills inside." "What divine pills?" the one-armed old man hurriedly asked, his eyes full of greed. The inner demons grinned and said, "I don't know what divine pill it is. I only know that when I took a divine pill, my cultivation soared like a rocket." The one-armed old man's eyes trembled and said hurriedly, "What about the rest? Hand it over." The inner demons said with grievance, "You're using the Emperor's might to imprison me. How can I hand it over?" The one-armed old man looked at the inner demons for a while and said in a deep voice, "Are you playing with this old man?" "I'm about to lose my life. How would I dare to play with you? Really, I'm not lying to you." The inner demons said solemnly, "You won't be able to do much anyway." The one-armed old man smiled disdainfully and then withdrew his emperor's aura. "Just you wait," the inner demon sneered. She reached her hands into her bosom and rubbed them hard. Previously, when he fought with Pei Qin and the other 10 people, there was a lot of dirt on his body. Soon, he rubbed out a ball of dirt the size of a pellet. "Here." Then he chuckled, took out a ball of mud, and threw it to the one-armed old man. The one-armed old man grabbed it expectantly, but when he looked at it, his expression changed. He put it to his nose and sniffed it. There was also the stench of sweat. "How dare you trick me?" He suddenly raised his head and stared at the inner demons. His ferocious eyes looked as if he wanted to eat someone. The inner demons showed an aggrieved expression and said, "I'm not lying to you. This is a divine pill. Try it if you don't believe me." Puff! Wang Zicheng and the others were all amused. Even the Frosty Ice Queen couldn't help but laugh. Treating dirt as a divine pill and bragging as if it was real, this guy was too much of a bastard. The one-armed old man's face was as calm as water. He waved his old hand, and the ball of mud turned into a stream of light and shot toward the inner demon's forehead. And now, this ball of mud was no longer a simple ball of mud. It contained the one-armed old man's battle chi, which was comparable to divine iron. The inner demons sneered, quickly raised his arm, and grabbed the ball of mud. Immediately, a huge force came over. He took a few steps back in a sorry state, and a wisp of purple-gold dragon blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What a strong force! The inner demons was shocked, and his arm was numb. Then he laughed and said, "You don't want such a good thing. You really have no taste." But the one-armed old man turned a deaf ear to him. He stared at the purple-gold dragon blood on the corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth, his old eyes full of surprise. How can his blood be this color? The Spirit Queen and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang in disbelief. In fact, there had always been purple-gold dragon blood on Qin Feiyang's body, which was left when he fought with Pei Qin and the others. It was just that when they first saw it, they didn't take it seriously. They thought it might be some kind of liquid spurted out by some sea beast. However, they never expected that it was the blood that flowed out from Qin Feiyang's body. The inner demons pursed his lips and said lightly, "I'm the reincarnation of the purple-gold divine dragon. What's the fuss about?" Purple-gold divine dragon. Everyone's eyes trembled. They knew that Qin Feiyang was just joking, but there was indeed a dragon's power in the blood. You didn't come out. You hid it so well. If I'm not wrong, you should be the descendant of the Qin Emperor, the one-armed old man said in a deep voice. This time, it was the inner demons who were shocked. In his inner world, Qin Feiyang also turned pale with fright. He had long thought that the exposure of the purple-gold dragon blood might expose his identity, but he didn't expect it to really come true. No. How did this old man know about the Qin Emperor? One had to know. Not long ago, Pei Qin and the others also saw the purple-gold dragon blood, but none of them recognized it. But now, this old man recognized it at a glance. Could it be that this person's status was higher than Pei Qin and the others? Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes were filled with deep disbelief. He thought of the main tower, because this kind of secret was only known by the people of the main tower. But because of this, he found it hard to believe. If his guess was true, and the one-armed old man was really from the main tower, then when he said that he was following orders, wasn't he following the orders of the main tower master? He didn't believe that the main tower master wanted to harm him. After all, he was now the personal disciple of the main tower master and had received the inheritance of the first main tower master. He was already the next successor of the main tower master. Moreover, young Master Hao and he were also as close as brothers. The main tower master had no reason to harm him. But besides the main tower master, who else could it be? Suddenly, he thought of another thing. He remembered that Mu Qing had said something to him. The main tower master might not pass the position to him. He also said he didn't know much about the main tower master, but the Mu family knew everything. However, there were some things that couldn't be said clearly. In the end, Mu Qing also warned him to be careful. The person that Mu Qing told him to be careful of was no one else but the main tower master. Could it really be him? Recalling what Mu Qing had said, Qin Feiyang's heart began to waver. Perhaps this upright chief pagoda master was truly a despicable person. Then, if this guess was true, wouldn't it be a conspiracy for the main tower master to let him and young Master Hao come to experience? It was terrifying to think about. Whether it was Qin Feiyang himself or the inner demons, they didn't dare to think about it anymore. Because if it was true, then the main tower master was too shrewd. In the blink of an eye, seeing the inner demons looking at him in shock, the one-armed old man laughed in surprise and said, "It seems that this old man guessed right. The descendant of the Qin Emperor. You are really a big fish." The Qin Emperor? Wang Zicheng and the others looked at each other. Listening to the one-armed old man's tone, the Qin Emperor seemed to be a very great person. What should we do? The inner demons stared at the one-armed old man gloomily and asked secretly, "Since he has seen through it, there is no need to hide it. Cripple him and force him to tell us who is behind it." Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "This matter must be investigated clearly, otherwise he would not be able to sleep and eat in peace." Understood. The inner demon smiled and looked at the one-armed old man and said, "Yes, I am the descendant of the Qin Emperor, and I am Qin Feiyang." Qin Feiyang? The one-armed old man was shocked and took a while to recover. He shook his head and said, "Qin Feiyang, Qin Batian, we should have known that you are the descendant of the Qin Emperor. Who is this we? The main tower, or the main tower master?" The inner demons immediately asked with lightning speed. "Main," the one-armed old man instinctively opened his mouth, but after saying one word, he suddenly came back to his senses. "Little bastard, how dare you trick this old man? You are courting death." His face immediately became ferocious, and the Emperor's aura exploded. The island suddenly broke apart and shook violently. This Emperor's aura, he is a 7-star combat emperor. Wang Zicheng and the others suddenly changed color, and their eyes were filled with fear. "So what if he is a 7-star combat emperor? Break for me." The inner demon's blood-red hair fluttered, and the Emperor's aura that imprisoned everyone was instantly broken. Immediately after, he waved his hand and a supreme force emerged. Wang Zicheng and the others were immediately sent away from the island. Old man, the person you should not provoke the most is me. The inner demons formed a seal with both hands, and the divine dragon seal appeared in an instant. Who do you think you are? How dare you be so arrogant? Watch, killing you is like slaughtering a dog. The one-armed old man's eyes were full of contempt. He waved his arm, and the battle, Qi, rushed into the sky like a waterfall. The next moment, a large hand that covered the sky appeared and exuded a sharp aura that could destroy the world. It slammed toward the inner demons. Trash! The inner demons sneered. The divine dragon seal broke through the sky and turned into a huge divine seal. Its divine aura shook all directions. Boom! In an instant, the two behemoths collided and a destructive aura rolled out in all directions with the two as the center. Crack! Crash! Half of the broken island disappeared in an instant. Huge waves rolled in and drowned the sky. At the same time, the invincible divine dragon seal was shattered by the giant hand. Then, the giant hand that covered the sky fell like lightning and hit the inner demons. Poof! The inner demons spurted out blood on the spot. Bloody wounds appeared on his body, and blood flowed out like a waterfall. Boom! In the end, he crashed into the island below like a blood-stained meteorite. So powerful. In the distance, Wang Zicheng and the others' pupils contracted. Viper said in a deep voice, "Although Master's divine dragon seal is a divine art, the one-armed old man's cultivation is 4 small realms higher than him. I'm afraid this battle is a little difficult." Yeah, facing such an absolute suppression in cultivation, even if he uses all his means, he might not win. Dan Wangkai said, "Wait, what did you say? The divine dragon seal he used just now is a divine art?" Barbarian Bull and the others looked at Viper and Dan Wangkai in surprise. Yes, and he has mastered more than one divine art. When I fought with him on Viper Island, my forbidden technique was instantly destroyed by his other divine art. Viper said with a self-deprecating expression, "The forbidden technique was the biggest trump card of the 10 heroes of the Azure Sea. It was also the fundamental reason why they could dominate the inland sea. However, it was so vulnerable to a divine art. He even has a divine art." Chapter 1051. High up in the sky, the one-armed old man stood proudly, as if the god of death had descended, cold as frost. Below, the inner demons had sunk into the ground and were on the verge of death. In the distance, Wang Zicheng and the others were all nervous. They knew that if Qin Feiyang died here, then they might also be killed by the one-armed old man. The Qin emperor's might shook the 4 seas. As his descendant, is this all you can do? It seems that the Qin emperor has no successor. Ha ha! The one-armed old man laughed wildly, his old face full of ridicule. Boom! Accompanied by a loud noise, the inner demons rushed out from the ground, his body covered in blood. One of his arms was also shattered, and the bowl-sized wound was shocking, looking extremely tragic. How much ability I have! You are not qualified to judge, nor are you qualified to blaspheme my ancestor. Old bastard, be prepared for it. He stared at the one-armed old man, his eyes filled with a bone-chilling, killing intent. Boom! All of a sudden, a vast aura rushed out of his body, as if a god was awakening in his body, and it emitted a great pressure. The surrounding void distorted. The sea, huge waves rolled. Even the sky was trembling. What's going on? What is this vast aura? It actually makes me feel despair. It's more than despair. I feel as if a god is standing in front of me. This aura surpasses the War Emperor. Could it be that there is really a god hiding in his body? Wang Zicheng and the others suddenly changed their expressions. The one-armed old man's face also darkened, because this aura made him feel inexplicably flustered. The inner demons smiled sinisterly and roared at the sky. The third move of the dragon god technique, Supreme Ruler. Boom! Woo-woo! In an instant, in the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled and strong winds blew. Rays of purple-gold divine light tore through the dark clouds, like the curtain of the Milky Way, and fell down. This sea suddenly turned into a purple-gold ocean. The third move of the Dragon God technique, Viper's heart trembled. The first move, the Dragon God seal, the second move, he had seen them all, but he did not expect there to be a third move, Supreme Ruler. Such a domineering name. How heaven-defying was this move? I won't give you a chance. The one-armed old man could no longer sit still. It was obvious that the inner demons were using some kind of heaven-defying battle art. Otherwise, it wouldn't have made him feel so uneasy. Therefore, he had to forcefully interrupt the battle art before it took shape. Whoosh! He used a mysterious footwork and dashed toward the inner demons like lightning. Hey! The inner demons grinned and used phantom step to retreat. Meanwhile, with a wave of his hand, the purple-gold dragon chi in his body poured out like a waterfall and rushed into the clouds. Boom! In less than the blink of an eye. The purple-gold dragon aura collided with the purple-gold divine light that was descending from the sky. Immediately, a statue of a god appeared. The statue was of a middle-aged man, and his entire body was suffused with brilliant violet gold divine light. He was around 300 m tall, had a clear outline, and carried a dense ancient aura. The eyes of the statue were even brighter, as if they were the eyes of God. They seemed to be able to see through everything and see through the origin of heaven and earth. This, the one-armed old man, was dumbfounded. The statue in front of him was exactly the same as the statue of Emperor Qin in the Land of Inheritance. And this statue was also holding a broken sword in its hand. Although it was just a broken sword, it felt as if the world would be shattered if the sword was swung down. Old bastard, you should feel honored because this is the first time I'm using the third move. The inner demons laughed and then suddenly shouted, "Kneel before me!" His words were the law. The statue released a shocking emperor's aura, and it was like a tide that covered the sky and earth, instantly covering hundreds of miles of the sea. Not only the one-armed old man, but even Wang Zicheng and the others also felt a pressure from the depths of their souls. Plop! Wang Zicheng and the others were the first to kneel in the void. They didn't want to kneel, but they just couldn't control themselves. Plop! The one-armed old man gritted his teeth and held on for a few breaths before finally kneeling down. What a terrifying emperor's aura! He was shocked. He felt that the statue was like the return of an ancient emperor, whose aura was inviolable. See, that's the difference between you and me. The inner demons looked down at the one-armed old man with disdain. The one-armed old man flew into a rage out of humiliation. Little bastard, I swear that I'll tear you to pieces today. He raised his head and roared. Accompanied by a deafening sound, a halberd rose from his back. He didn't dare to hold back and decisively activated his fighting soul. The halberd was more than 100 feet long, and it was shining with a silver light, releasing a destructive aura and a sharp edge. Bastard, go to hell! Slash! The one-armed old man's eyes were filled with hatred. He roared hysterically, and the halberd shook the sky and slashed at the inner demons. How dare an ant like you try to compete with the sun and the moon? You're overestimating yourself. Watch carefully, old bastard. What do you mean by a heaven-defying technique? The inner demons snorted with contempt. Then he waved his hand and the statue moved. The statue raised the broken sword in his hand and slashed in the air. Clang! A purple-gold sword aura appeared and cut through the sky like lightning. It destroyed the halberd with an unstoppable force. Puff! The one-armed old man's body and mind trembled. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and his old face was filled with disbelief. How could it be so strong? This was too ridiculous. Even if it was a deity technique, it might not be comparable to the dragon god technique. The inner demons mocked. Old man, hurry up and beg for mercy. As long as you kneel down and call me grandpa, I'll spare your life. Little bastard, don't be so smug. The one-armed old man sneered. Judging from your tone, you seem to have other tricks up your sleeve? Don't be long-winded. Show me everything. The inner demons crossed his arms in front of his chest. Both his eyes and his posture were filled with contempt. I don't have any other tricks up my sleeve. But don't forget your current situation. The one-armed old man sneered. Situation? The inner demons was slightly taken aback. He asked curiously, what situation? Tell me. The one-armed old man said, not only the main tower, but even the trading pavilion is looking for you. If I expose your true identity, what do you think will happen to you? So that's what you're talking about. But do you have the chance to expose yourself? The inner demons looked at him playfully. Ha ha! The one-armed old man couldn't help but laugh and said, I admit that you're very strong. Even I am not your opponent. But if you want to keep me here or kill me, you'll never be able to do it. Really? The playful look on the inner demon's face became even more intense. What do you think? I'm a 7-star combat emperor, and you're a 3-star combat emperor. We both have perfect supportive skills. If I want to leave, do you think you can stop me? Little bastard, just wait for your despair. The one-armed old man laughed and used his perfect supportive skills. He turned around and left. Sigh, you're too confident. The one who will despair is not me, but you. Innate divine ability, Emperor Divine Prison. The inner demons shook his head. The purple-gold dragon soul appeared, and an invisible force surged out in all directions like a flood. This, the one-armed old man, was immediately imprisoned in the void. His eyes were wide open in anger. The inner demons stepped on the dragon soul and landed in front of the one-armed old man. The statue also followed. The broken sword was placed against the one-armed old man's neck. The bone-piercing sharpness made the one-armed old man shiver. The inner demons said indifferently, Speak, who is the person behind you? Purple gold dragon soul. When he saw the purple gold dragon soul under the inner demon's feet, the one-armed old man's eyes trembled. The inner demons shouted, I don't have time to waste with you. Speak quickly. The one-armed old man's heart trembled. He looked at the inner demons and shook his head with a smile. I have to admit, you're really an amazing young man. The inner demons raised his eyebrows. Let me finish. With your talent and potential, no one in the entire Forgotten Continent can be compared to you. If you don't die, you'll definitely become the next Qin Emperor. But unfortunately, do you know why? Because you'll definitely die today. And to be able to perish together with the descendant of the Qin Emperor, it's actually my honor. The one-armed old man smiled. His smile was very bright. Perish together? Seeing the smile on the one-armed old man's face, the inner demons felt a strong sense of unease. Before I die, as you wish, I'll tell you who's behind this. That's right. As you expected, the one who sent me to kill you is the current Chief Tower Master. The one-armed old man said. It's really him. The inner demon's body trembled. He grabbed the one-armed old man's clothes and roared, Why? Did I do something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong, but you shouldn't have received the inheritance of the first Chief Tower Master. The one-armed old man sneered. What do you mean? The inner demons frowned. You received the inheritance of the first Chief Tower Master, which means that you'll be the next Chief Tower Master. And this is exactly what the current Chief Tower Master doesn't want to see, because he wants to leave this position to young Master Hao. That's why he sent you to Qinghai to get rid of an obstacle like you, the one-armed old man said. I see. The inner demons clenched his hands and said in a deep voice, Why in Qinghai? The one-armed old man said, Because if he gets rid of you in Qinghai, no one will suspect him. I understand. He asked young Master Hao and Wang Yu, or to go with me to cover it up. The inner demons said, Yes, with young Master Hao and Wang Yu, no one will suspect him. Don't you think it's very ironic now? I thought I got a great fortune, but it turned out to be a disaster. The one-armed old man sneered. The inner demons laughed and asked, Do young Master Hao and Wang Yu know about this? No. The one-armed old man shook his head. The inner demons said, Then why didn't you kill me when we met on the beach? Why did you wait until now? It's because of the Chief Tower Master's order. The Chief Tower Master told me not to make a move if I can. It's best if you die in the hands of others. So I told you about the 10 heroes of Qinghai. Because with your character, you'll definitely be interested in the 10 heroes of Qinghai after hearing that. And the 10 heroes of Qinghai are all arrogant people. Conflicts will inevitably occur when you meet. But the only thing I didn't expect was that you've actually subdued them. The one-armed old man said, It turns out that I've fallen into your trap since I entered Qinghai. The inner demons sighed deeply, then grinned and said, Thank you for telling me this. You're welcome, because even if you know, there's nothing you can do. Chapter 1052. Is that so? The inner demons narrowed his eyes. What is this person trying to do? Of course. You will die, and so will I. But the difference is that my death will be a worthy one, and your death will be regretful for the rest of your life. The one-armed old man chuckled as a hint of madness appeared in his eyes and a destructive aura rushed out from his body. The inner demon's pupil shrank, and he said, So you're planning to self-destruct and die with me. That's right. It's too late now, even if you can fly. Go to hell with me. The one-armed old man laughed, as if he had gone mad. The destructive aura became more terrifying. Are you dreaming? Since you know that I am Qin Feiyang, you should know that I have a place to hide. The inner demons sneered. In the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. A place to hide. The one-armed old man's eyes trembled. After being reminded by Qin Feiyang, he finally remembered. He quickly stopped self-destructing. If he couldn't die with Qin Feiyang, then his self-destruction was meaningless. But it was too late to stop now. Boom! His fleshly body suddenly exploded in the void, and a destructive wave of air rolled out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. Bastard! I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. In an instant, his corpse was nowhere to be found. The shattered island below was also completely shattered and swallowed by the waves. Only his resentful roar remained, echoing in the world for a long time without dissipating. Powerful, Wang Zicheng and the other 8 people kept retreating, their faces full of shock. Even a 7-star combat emperor was forced to death by Qin Feiyang. His means were too terrifying. So this is his true strength. The big bull and Wang Zicheng looked at each other, and a self-deprecating smile crept up the corners of their mouths. They knew Qin Feiyang first, but at first they didn't take Qin Feiyang seriously at all. They didn't expect him to be such a terrifying person, disregarding everything else. Just the innate divine ability of the purple gold dragon soul was enough to make anyone despair. What a strong fluctuation. Looks like Big Brother Mu is fighting with someone again. Meanwhile, Wang Yu and young Master Hao stood in the sky above the island, looking in the direction of the volcanic island, their eyes filled with shock. The two islands were separated by thousands of kilometers, but they could still sense the aura of the one-armed old man's self-destruction. So it was not hard to imagine how intense the battle was over there. As time passed, everything gradually calmed down. The inner demons also came out of the castle. "Greetings, master." Viper, Black Monkey, and Dan Wonkai quickly flew over and bowed respectfully. As for Wang Zicheng and the others, after witnessing the strength of the inner demons, a trace of respect appeared on their faces. Because this was a world where the strong were respected, the inner demons took a bone-replenishing pill and healing pill. They turned to look at the spot where the one-armed old man had exploded and sneered, "Regret for life? What a joke!" Immediately, he looked at Dan Wonkai and said, "Give me your pill fire." This, Dan Wangkai's face changed. What did he want his pill fire for? The inner demons raised his eyebrows and said coldly, "Do you need me to repeat myself?" No need, no need. Dan Wonkai hurriedly waved his hand, quickly took out his pill fire, and respectfully handed it to the inner demons. The inner demons grabbed it in his hand and instantly erased the blood contract inside. "Master, you," Dan Wonkai was anxious. He only had this cluster of 7th grade pill fire. If it was gone, how could he refine pills in the future? But the inner demons only gave him a look, and he did not dare to say anything more. Then, the inner demons took out another 2 clusters of 7th grade pill fire, and then took out the nether devil flame. So many pill fires. Looking at the 4 clusters of 7th grade pill fires in front of them, the 10 people could not help but be stunned. One had to know. In the entire Forgotten Continent, there were not many 7th grade pill fires, but this person actually had so many in his hands. However, this person took out so many 7th grade pill fires. What did he want to do? The next moment, a scene that surprised them appeared. That cluster of black flames actually swallowed the other 3 7th grade pill fires. The inner demons laughed and said, "The nether devil flame can increase its grade by swallowing other pill fires." What? There's such a thing? The 10 people were dumbfounded. This was even more shocking than knowing that Qin Feiyang had the divine art. Boom! Not long after the inner demon's voice fell, the nether devil flame trembled in the void, releasing a shocking aura. This world suddenly seemed to have turned into a big furnace, and the seawater below was quickly evaporating. This aura indeed surpasses the 7th grade pill fire. It really improved. The shock in the hearts of Wang Zicheng and the others could not be any greater. The inner demons smiled proudly and sent the nether devil flame back to the ancient castle. After Dan Wonkai came back to his senses, he hurriedly asked, "Master, then what should I use to refine pills in the future?" The inner demons said lightly, "Don't ask me this kind of thing. When the original body comes out, ask him. He will definitely help you think of a way." "All right." Dan Wonkai nodded helplessly. Original body. Wang Zicheng and the others who did not know were dumbfounded again. The inner demons glanced at the 7 people, looked at Viper and the other 2, and asked, "The potential pills I gave you, have you used them?" "Not yet." The 3 of them shook their heads. The inner demons said, "Well then, while my cultivation is still there, Dan Wonkai, Black Monkey, stand together. I will help you open the door of potential." Boom! When Wang Zicheng and the others heard this, it was like a bolt from the blue. Open the door of potential? What was going on? Dan Wonkai and the Black Monkey were overjoyed. They quickly gathered together, took out the potential pills, and threw them into their mouths. "Master, what about me?" Viper looked at the 2 of them and asked anxiously, "Your cultivation is not a 9-star battle saint. You can't open it for the time being." After the inner demons finished speaking, he immediately released his Emperor's aura and rushed toward Dan Wonkai and the Black Monkey. At that moment, Dan Wonkai and the black monkey knelt in the void, howling in pain. Blood gushed out of their pores, and they felt as if their bodies were about to be torn apart. "Hold on!" the inner demons shouted. Wang Zicheng and the others looked at the two of them in surprise. As for Viper, he looked distressed. Time passed by. Boom! Suddenly, Dan Wangkai and the black monkey's bodies shook, and a dull sound exploded in their bodies. At the same time, a dazzling black light shot out from their hearts. The inner demon smiled and retracted his emperor's aura. Did we succeed? The two of them looked at the inner demons anxiously. The inner demons nodded. The two of them suddenly became spirited. Ignoring the blood all over their bodies, they quickly tore open their clothes and looked down at the potential imprint on their hearts. They saw that the original white potential imprint had now turned black. We really succeeded. The two of them looked at each other, overjoyed. This is absolutely impossible, but at the same time, Wang Zicheng shook his head vigorously, his face full of disbelief. The Spirit Empress and the others were the same. What kind of joke was this? To actually use pills to open the gate of potential. Dan Wangkai stood up, glanced at them, and sneered. The truth is right in front of you. The black monkey also looked at Wang Zicheng and said proudly, Usually you always show off in front of us that you have opened the second level of the gate of potential. Now that we have finally caught up to you, tell us, what do you think? But Wang Zicheng seemed to have not heard it and kept muttering to himself. It seemed that he would not be able to accept this fact in a short period of time. The black monkey laughed sinisterly. Also, let me tell you, the second level is really nothing, because Master has already opened the sixth level of the gate of potential. The sixth level. Wang Zicheng suddenly raised his head and stared at the inner demons. The Spirit Empress and the others were also shocked. The sixth level of the gate of potential. This was something they did not even dare to think about. The inner demons smiled playfully and looked at Viper. How long will it take for you to break through? Viper thought for a moment and said, Should be another half a year. The inner demons shook his head. Too long. I will help you break through to the 9-star battle saint now. Wait for me. After saying that, the inner demons went to the ancient castle. Help me break through now. Viper was stunned, looked at Dan Wangkai and the black monkey and said, Did I hear wrong? No, he did say that. The two of them said, No way. He can refine pills that can help me break through. Viper was shocked. Dan Wangkai and the black monkey looked at each other, and their faces were also full of shock. Everyone knew that only martial artists, masters, and masters could use the red fire colored glass pill to break through. Warriors above the Battle King level had to rely on their own efforts, and there was no shortcut. But judging from the inner demon's tone and attitude, it did not seem like they were joking. After a while, the inner demons appeared, holding 2 pills in his hands. 1 antidote pill, 1 9-turn dragon blood pill, and both of them had 7th grade pill veins. Take it. The inner demons handed it to Viper. Wang Zicheng and the others were deeply shocked again. He could even refine pills with 7 pill veins. What kind of monster was this person? Thank you, Master. Viper was grateful. He first took the antidote pill, closed his eyes, and sank his mind into his body to observe the poison. The poison hidden in his body was equivalent to a time bomb. If not removed as soon as possible, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. A moment later, he opened his eyes, and there was a trace of anger on his face. He looked at the inner demons and said, There's no way to remove it completely. It seems that I can only go to Pei Qin to get the antidote. The inner demon's eyes darkened slightly, and he said, Pei Qin has been killed. When Pei Qin was killed, Viper was not there, so he did not know. At this moment, when he heard the inner demon's words, he suddenly changed his expression and said, Have you found the antidote? Well, At that time, I was having a good time killing and completely forgot about it. The inner demons was stunned, then he scratched his head, and his face was full of embarrassment. Then what about the poison in my body? Viper was desperate. Pei was dead, and the antidote pill with 7 veins was useless. Didn't that mean there was no hope? Don't worry, I don't think I destroyed Pei Qin's body at that time. His heaven-earth bag should still be there. As long as we find his heaven-earth bag, we should be able to find the antidote. The inner demons comforted him, then looked at the island below, embarrassed again. He had forgotten. The island had long been destroyed in the battle between him and the one-armed old man. Since the island was destroyed, how could there be a corpse? It's over, it's completely over. Chapter 1053. Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey couldn't help but look at Viper sympathetically. Viper had already told them about being poisoned, so they knew how terrible the poison was. As long as Pei Qin died, Viper was basically waiting for death. From this point, it also showed that although the inner demons were powerful, they weren't very reliable. Because if it was Qin Feiyong himself, he would definitely not forget to get the antidote for Viper. Don't worry, there must be a way. The inner demons comforted him. What way? Viper looked at him weakly. The inner demons didn't know how to answer. Swish! At this moment, another Qin Feiyong appeared beside the inner demons. Wang Zicheng and the others were surprised. Greetings, young lord. Dan Wangkai and the Black Monkey immediately bowed. That's right. This was Qin Feiyong himself. Seeing Qin Feiyong himself appear, Viper seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw and cried, "Young lord, you must save me!" Don't worry, this matter hasn't reached the point where it can't be saved, Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Viper was suddenly energized. He stood up and asked, "Young lord, do you have a way?" Qin Feiyong said, "Even the antidote of 7 elixir patterns can't remove the poison. The poison that Pei Qin gave you is undefeatable." Viper's heart sank. Even the young lord couldn't do anything? Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "But because of this, other people in the divine python tribe must have the antidote." Viper was surprised. It's actually very simple. Let's put ourselves in their shoes. If we can make such a poison, will we give some of the antidote to our relatives in case of emergency? Qin Feiyong asked. Viper thought carefully and nodded. If it's a close relative, we will definitely give it to them. Isn't that right? Moreover, Pei Qin's poison is a great threat to anyone. As for the super forces, the most common thing is to scheme against each other, including the divine python tribe. Let's not talk about the others. Let's talk about the chief of the divine python tribe. Although I've only met him once, this person is extremely vicious and merciless. For the sake of power, he even murdered his own elder brother. It's impossible for such a ruthless character to completely trust the people around him. When he finds out that Pei Qin can concoct this kind of medicine, he will definitely ask Pei Qin for the antidote as soon as possible, just in case. So I concluded that he definitely has the antidote on him. Qin Feiyong said. Hearing this, Viper was ecstatic. The main body was the main body. No matter what difficulties it encountered, it would be able to find a solution at the fastest speed. Although the inner demons are very strong, they are not as smart as me. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Don't worry. When we return to the Divine City, I will go to the Divine Python tribe and get the antidote. Thank you, young master." Viper hurriedly bowed and thanked him. "I can't stay outside for too long. You guys can continue." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and returned to the inner world. Viper's suspended heart finally relaxed. Then he looked at the other pill in his hand, raised his head to look at the inner demons, and asked suspiciously, "Master, what kind of pill is this?" The inner demons glanced at Wang Zicheng and the others from the corner of his eyes, and said expressionlessly, "This is called 9-turn dragon blood pill. It can increase the cultivation of War Emperor and War Saint." What? Viper's gaze trembled. Wang Zicheng and the others also looked at the 9-turn dragon blood pill in shock. In fact, the inner demons had deliberately said it to them. These people were all arrogant and unruly people. It was almost impossible for them to willingly submit. So, the inner demons thought of a way to break down the defenses in Wang Zicheng and the others' hearts step by step. The first step was to display extraordinary strength. For example, the various divine arts and the purple gold dragon soul, to achieve the effect of intimidating Wang Zicheng and the others. Obviously, this step was very successful. The second step, he helped Dan Wangkai and Wang Zicheng open the door to their potential, and took out the detoxification pill with 7 patterns and the 9-turn dragon blood pill to further intimidate Wang Zicheng and the others. No, to be exact, the second step was to tempt them. This step was also successful. Now, the third step was to help Viper become a 9-star War Saint. He wanted to completely defeat Wang Zicheng and the others mentally and spiritually. He did not believe that after seeing these miraculous pills, Wang Zicheng and the others would not be tempted. The inner demons said, "Take it." Okay. Viper nodded repeatedly, took the 9-turn dragon blood pill, sat cross-legged in the void, and closed his eyes. Boom! The pill melted in his mouth and turned into a majestic energy, rolling toward his limbs and bones. Immediate effect. Viper's aura rose crazily. The 9-turn dragon blood pill with 7 patterns had a 70% success rate, which almost meant that it would not fail, unless he stepped on dog feces outside and was extremely unlucky. And Viper's luck was still good. Soon, he broke through the shackles of an 8-star War Saint and broke through to a 9-star War Saint. I really did it. Viper opened his eyes, and his face was filled with ecstasy. Although there was still half a year before he could break through to a 9-star War Saint with his own efforts, time was very precious to cultivators. Many things could be done in half a year. He looked up at the inner demons and said with admiration, "Master, you're too amazing. You're my idol." The inner demons said with a cold face, "Stop flattering. Quickly take the potential pill. I'll help you open the second door of potential." Okay. Viper nodded and quickly took out the potential pill and took it. After a painful process, the second door of potential was successfully opened. "I can't take it anymore." Deadface roared and knelt in front of the inner demons on one knee and said respectfully, "Master, please give me the potential pill too." Shen Yi and his brothers looked at each other, stepped forward, and knelt in front of the inner demons and said, "Master, we're also willing to serve you." "Very good. Please believe me, you definitely won't regret the decision you made today." The inner demons laughed heartily and entered the castle, took out 4 potential pills, and opened the second door of potential for the 4 of them. Now, only the big bull, Wang Zicheng, the Spirit Queen, and the Ice Queen were left. "Girls, I won't force you. I can even remove your slave seal, but you have to think carefully, because if you do that, you won't be able to get the potential pill, and then the gap between you and Viper and the others will become bigger and bigger. One day, Viper and the others will stand at the top of the pyramid of the Forgotten Continent and be respected and worshipped by the world. And you can only hide at the side and die in silence. There might even be people laughing at you. Weren't you all part of the Blue Sea's 10 heroes? Why is the gap so big?" The inner demons joked. The 2 girls trembled, and a trace of struggle appeared in their eyes. "You only have one chance. If you miss it the next time you want it, even if you kneel down and beg me, I won't bother with you because I don't need it anymore." The inner demons said calmly, with a deep sense of disdain in his tone. The 2 girls looked at each other and finally gritted their teeth, knelt down on one knee, and said respectfully, "Greetings, Master!" "Haha, The inner demons laughed. As long as these two girls submitted, the big bull wouldn't be far away from submitting. However, the two girls felt that the inner demons was laughing at their cowardice, and a trace of anger appeared on their faces. Don't misunderstand, I'm not laughing at you. On the contrary, I admire you because you have a lot of awareness. Do you know why? The inner demons said playfully. The two girls shook their heads. The inner demon's eyes surged with a bloody light, and he laughed sinisterly. If you really believe me and let me remove the slave seal, then it'll be the time of your death. The two girls' eyes trembled. So this was a trap. However, you're very smart and chose to follow me. Of course, I can't favor one and discriminate against the other. The inner demons took out 2 potential pills and helped the two girls open the second level of the door of potential. The dead man's face rolled his eyes and asked carefully, Master, I heard you say that the 9-turn dragon blood pill is useful for battle masters and battle saints. Is it useful for us 9-star battle saints? Yes. Although it can't let you break through to Battle Emperor, it can break through the bottleneck. As long as you take the 9-turn dragon blood pill, you can easily step into a 1-star Battle Emperor in less than an hour. The inner demons said proudly. The group of people suddenly became excited. There was a gap between a 9-star battle saint and a 1-star battle emperor. Although they were extremely talented, it wasn't easy to cross this gap. Don't worry, before you take the 9-turn dragon blood pill, I'll help you open the first 7 levels of the door of potential. The inner demons said. Everyone's heart trembled. Opening the 7th level of the door of potential. This was something they didn't even dare to think about before. That the barbarian bull finally couldn't hold it in, but he couldn't put down his face. He looked at the inner demons and wanted to say something, but stopped. Wang Zicheng's expression changed, and he shouted, Barbarian bull, what are you trying to do? Could it be that even you can't resist the temptation? Have some backbone, okay? What's the use of having backbone? Just like now, I'm stronger than you. I can trample on you however I want. Do you dare to fight back? Moreover, you're already like this. Don't you think it's ridiculous to talk about having backbone? The inner demon's face was full of disdain. The barbarian bull closed his eyes in pain and finally sighed. He opened his eyes and bowed. Greetings, master. At least you know what's good for you. The inner demon sneered and helped the barbarian bull open the 2nd level of the door of potential. You guys are really despicable. Wang Zicheng looked at the 9 people with disdain, and his face was full of disappointment. But the 9 people turned a deaf ear. The inner demons also ignored him, and looked at Viper and the others with a smile. Quickly rest. I'll help you open the 3rd level later. Okay. Viper, Dan Wangkai, and the black monkey were overjoyed. They quickly sat cross-legged in the void, took healing pills, and closed their eyes to meditate. As for the barbarian bull and the others, after tasting the sweetness, they simply let go. After all, no one could change the situation at this point. Rather than continue to resist and suffer, they might as well accept it. Hey, are you ignoring me? Seeing that the inner demons ignored him, Wang Zicheng was very unhappy. Even if he didn't want to submit, shouldn't he at least put on an act and ask him? Now, they just left him here and didn't ask him what was going on. The inner demons still ignored him. They didn't even look at him, and directly went to the ancient castle. They did it on purpose. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.